What's up, everybody? Welcome here to Philosophers. We are here for the monthly comic review. I forgot that I didn't change the background. Let's get something more appropriate and nice. Oh, we're in outer space. We're in the cosmos. We're in Jim Starlin land. Welcome, everybody, to the monthly comic book review here on Pop Culture Philosophers, where we will be discussing in full spoilery detail our favorite comic book of the month for March 2022. I almost said 2015. That's the wrong date.
A little off there.
Just a little bit off.
Just a tad.
We got Manny from Chamorro Cinema. What is up, my man?
Dude, I'm so excited to be here. Thank you for having me on, brother. I love this show.
Also, kind of in a firestorm type way, Verno is inside of him apparently, because you did promise a Cerebro tonight. So I'm glad that
I did.
I'm glad that they're here. We also got appearing for the first time on the monthly comic book panel. It is Brandon from ComixKings
Station, Robbie. Thank you so much for having me, man. I'm excited.
Of course, man. As soon as everybody found out that you were going to be here, they just dipped out. So
yeah, no Jam, no Bueller, no Bob,
we had to bring. Well, no
Verno.
kidding aside, everybody's super busy this month. Apparently, March is just busy season, and I understand. But I'm excited to have this great panel here tonight because we're going to get into it 100%. Because we also got my main man, who's been a staple on these shows for several months now, and the only one of all of you guys that I've actually physically met in person. It is Nick from Comic Culture. What's up, my man?
What is up, dude? Thanks for having me back. Yeah, I always look forward to this. I can't wait to get into these books. Got a good stack here. Thanks for having me again, bro.
Nice. And we got Greg from Bearded Comic Bro down there. What's up, my man? He thought that he's here because nobody else wanted to show up because Brandon was here, but in fact, you were the second person that I asked. Brandon was the first because I wanted him to stop hounding me about it.
I wasn't hounding you.
But the monthly panel. Thank you so much for being here, Greg.
I appreciate it. No, I appreciate you having me back. I was worried that I wasn't going to be able to come back because I got hounded by not reading Berserker. So, last month. But in my defense, I almost read it this month. I almost did. I picked up the trade. I'm like, ooh, I should do this in case Robbie invites me back. I was like, then I'll make Robbie and Jem happy. And I was like, nah, I'm okay.
See, in another reality, you did read it and you didn't get invited back.
I know, right? And that would have been the biggest slap in my face. Like, I'm gonna write this book.
Oh, but you may have liked the book. I think you'd like. That's a good book.
I need to still. So
It's a great book.
In this reality, Greg, I buy Berserker every month, and I have not read it since issue 3. So
It's a good
Killing
book.
me.
I like it. There's a lot of
Awesome.
action.
No Berserker
It's an
this
angry
month,
read.
actually, right? But I thought that I get like early energy, like post Daredevil, like Ronin era energy of Frank Miller in this. That's what I get from it.
Yeah.
Like especially in Garney's artwork. Anyway, there was no Berserker this month, so we're about to start discussing our favorite comic books of the entire month. So the first question is going to be, what is your pick of the month? As everybody thinks about that, as they should have already thought about it. I do want to say thank you to everybody here in the channel or in the chat already. We got Dismay Comics in the house, Rogue Collecting, Joram, our man Fable, one collection down, Station. Yo, they had that baby yet?
Not yet.
Almost.
About to pop.
It's literally about to pop. What's up,
Yep.
Kags?
Pop, pop.
We got Big Herm. Yeah, pop, pop, boom. That's how it's gonna go. You know what I'm saying? Anyway, thank you all for being here. We really do appreciate that. Oh man, there's so many people keeps dropping down. I saw Bro Joe in there. I saw Sal Felix in there.
Right up south.
Wu Tang's in the house.
Yep.
If I missed you, just keep chatting. We're all here with Stefan, a different Stefan, so Stefan maybe. Comic Toby here promoting WonderCon tomorrow in Anaheim, California, for free. I won't be there, but I support the cause. Thank you so much for the super chat, Comic Toby 420. All right,
Awesome.
Manny, what's the pick of the month for you?
the pick of the month for me is. I should save it for my DC, but fuck it, I'm going with it. Right now, Swamp Thing issue number 11. This was a transition done absolutely perfectly. We came off that climactic battle between Levi and his brother, and we went into the next arc in, I think, the best way possible. It's really similar to what they did with Something is Killing the Children this month, where we saw the main character, we got a taste, we kind of can see where the pieces are being reset on the board, but the story didn't just focus on Levi or Woodrow. It really took Jennifer, and I love that. I love that we follow Jennifer through this and Tifa Holland, or however the hell you say it, that those two characters, because at its base, Swamp Thing's been a book about relationships. Levi's relationship to his dad, to his brother, to the Green's relationship with us. I mean, it's been a relationship book. So taking those secondary characters, moving them to the forefront, and letting everything settle so that we know Rom's going to build something great on top of this foundation. I loved this book, and I'm going to shut up for a few minutes, but believe me, I'm going to keep rambling if you let me. So,
I mean, you could ramble about this book forever. I mean, it's one of my top picks. It's like my number 2. Right. But like, you're right. Everything you said about it, relationships, also about the relationships between like corporate culture and the environment. Right. But not in like a preachy way, but obviously that's a theme that's in Swamp Thing books since the beginning of the damn thing, with Len Wein and Bernie Wrights and into Alan Moore and on and on and on. So I love the book. I also stand by this statement. I think it's the best issue of that series yet.
Really?
Yes, I think Rom's use of language, the way that he continued the story, but was building, like you said, with Jennifer and bringing in Tifa, or I don't know, that's the daughter, right, of Alec and Abigail, right?
Arcade. Yep.
Yeah. So, at first I thought it was Abigail, and I don't know why. And I was like, why are they calling her that? I don't know. It was silly. But I love it, and the artwork is amazing. That composition, when dude is getting like pieces, I guess, of Levi's brother or some shit. Like, I don't know, but he's like getting pieces of shit put in him. And then they have the composition there. Like, it is beautiful. And Perkins' coloring, I do miss the days of inking, but Perkins is doing exactly what an inker would do. He is adding that depth. He's adding that contrast. He's adding those
Mike
layers.
Spicer still the colorist?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Perkins
Yeah,
on the
Perkins and
pencils
Spicer.
and Spicer on the coloring.
Yeah.
Yeah. Did I mess it up? Anyway.
Yeah, you said Perkins and coloring.
Oh, I'm sorry. You guys know what I'm saying. Mike
Brandon waited for that opportunity to jump down. Like,
No,
gotcha.
I was just like,
Keep my colorist name out your fucking mouth, okay?
No, because I was like, wait, I haven't seen Spicer's name in anything lately because Beta Ray Bill ended and this has been on hiatus. I was like, is he not doing coloring anymore?
There's something else he just did recently that I
Really?
was talking about. I don't even remember what it was. Anyway,
Or he's just taking his time, or he's just taking his sweet ass time because this book is absolutely beautiful. Like,
Yeah, I bet you he is.
Dude,
taking his
he's just
sweet
like,
ass
dude, I got all the time in the world. I'm gonna make this thing fucking perfect,
Dude.
You know?
Well, I was describing the coloring today, and because I have to practice everything I say, because if I don't, then it falls apart. But the coloring in this book, there's complementary color scheme. It's all purples and greens, but they're done in, there's a slight dissonance to them, which keeps it adds attention to the coloring. Like it throws you off just a little bit. Like these colors should work perfectly together, and they do, but there's just like this tiny bit of dissonance with it. Like I don't know if I'm the only one that gets that, but it leaves me slightly unsettled, and I kind of like that feeling.
I mean, look at those layouts. Look at that page design. Look at the composition and the coloring and the contrast there and what it provides. And there's fields of depth. And then, oh my goodness, right?
Yeah, there's those moments where Levi's just he's just in his Swamp Thing like avatar persona, right? And he's protecting that rose. He keeps talking about how he has to kind of he can't do anything, and he's using all of his power to like protect this single rose. That's all he can possibly do. In those panels alone, there's layer upon layer upon layer upon layer of just this amazing detail. And yeah, the coloring really makes everything pop, like you said. And it's kind of like horror-ish. We talked about that. What is it? It's like an 8-panel grid of that surgery scene. There it is.
Yeah.
And those colors, you're right. They're like pastel-ish almost. And there's almost like a horror element to it, and the detail and the actual drawing. It's really beautifully done. This was a great read. And the art's unlike anything else out right now.
And straight up, that's Willem Dafoe.
Yeah.
Robbie, would you say that's some of Perkins' best work or better works?
Yeah, I mean, I liked his art on like, all I can really remember off the top of my head is that he did the Lois Lane series. I think
Or like
that
Captain America with Brubaker.
Was he on some of that?
Yeah, when Epting wasn't doing it, it was Perkins.
Okay, I don't really recall that so freshly in my mind, but he did the Lois Lane series. I think that Greg Rucka did, right?
Yeah, that was great.
And I thought it was all right, but there is they've nailed it here. Yeah. And what's sad to me is that so they did extend it, celebratory, yay, but only for 6 more issues. So like, no, this has got to be like Like this is worth like a 50 to 75 issue run, like
Yeah.
100%.
I think
Absolutely.
so. Mhm.
Anybody else got thoughts? You reading it, Greg or
I've been
Brando?
nodding my head like, yeah, man, good stuff. Good stuff. It's like one of the few DC books I'm not reading. I am reading the other Swamp Thing book that only has one issue out now that that
the
came
Jeff
out 4
Lemire?
months ago.
Yeah,
The
Yeah,
Green
definitely.
Hell or whatever.
Oh,
Yeah.
Yep.
That's really good, man. Super
I have not read this recent issue. I've been really digging this series. It's been one of my more favorite reads. I think like Rom V's writing, his storytelling is really sticking out for me because when we look at what can we add to comics that we haven't seen before, and Rom V, his first books were all Vertigo books. So he's almost writing in that language combined with like his writing from Many Deaths Layla's Star. They're very similar in my opinion. So
Vertigo
I really
books.
like.
You mean like books that would be
Like
Vertigo
books that were like printed under the Vertigo label. Like that's what he started reading.
Oh, what he started reading. Okay.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
gotcha.
Yeah.
So I really appreciate the language and like the storytelling, and I was able to foreshadow events in this book and just lead us into one thing after another. I think is really exciting.
Yeah, the book's amazing. You know, I
Go
missed
pick it
it.
up, everyone.
I missed it while it was gone, and I'm
Mhm.
so glad that it's back.
Yeah, for sure.
Anybody else have anything else?
That's
It
it.
seemed like Nick was on the verge of something.
No, I was just admiring the cover more. I just the way that all the characters are drawn, the way that she's drawn in there, and her hair and everything, and just the coloring again. It kind of reminds me of the way Moon Knight's drawn right now. It has this like radiance to it, almost like that. And if you look at that cover, it's very much reminiscent of that.
Dude, it's
Beautiful.
it's like an EC Comics cover.
Yeah, it's
Right?
crazy, isn't it? It
Just-
just stands out.
There's the Hamlet bit you can see,
Right.
right? But I mean, that's Swamp Thing's body all torn apart and dismembered behind her, and she's
Mhm.
holding a literal like a bloody like if this is what the Comics Code started because of covers like this. And look how far we've come, man. I love it. I love it.
Yeah, it's great.
Speaking of the Comics Code, Brandon started reading comics probably was born after the Comics Code actually kind of ended
What
at Marvel.
year? What year?
2001. They
Yeah, I was
dropped
born
that?
in 2001.
Wow,
There
weird.
you go.
Man,
Yeah,
that's
right?
crazy. All right, Brandon, what's your pick of the month?
My pick of the month was Strange #1. This came out earlier, like first week of the month. This is by Jen McCabe. The artist by Marcelo Fiera. I've been enjoying both of their works. Fiera has done a lot of Spider-Man issues to fill in, which was actually my favorite during the Spencer run. And then McKay has obviously been carving out his own piece in the Marvel Universe. He previously did Death of Doctor Strange, which led into this. Moon Knight, Black Cat. He's done a lot of work. He's also been doing some ASM fill in. But this book was a very good fresh start for Clea. She is now Sorcerer Supreme after Doctor Strange came back just for like the whole heist of the events going on in Death of Doctor Strange. But unfortunately, he had to go back and actually like adhere to the rules of death. So Clea is now trying to pave the way to get him back, but she has to take care of her duties as Sorcerer Supreme and make sure that there's a smooth transition. We get to see what Dr. Doom is up to because he really wants to be Sorcerer Supreme. So he comes knocking on the door and she's like, well, that's my husband that died. I'm Sorcerer Supreme, even though she already is in the dark dimension. So there's like a lot of banter going on between the two characters, which I really liked. And then we get to see Clea go off into another dimension and help save them by pirates. There are a lot of undertones with Wong as a character. He's kind of depressed about Steven dying twice. So he's become a little bit of an alcoholic. And I think like Jed McKay writes it really well. He writes, he knows these characters really well and he knows their history. So he's able to help them interact better, which I think that a lot of writers don't do a lot of times, especially like in Marvel. And this book is talking to like the Marvel universe at large. So I really appreciate that. I would highly recommend picking up this book because we are going to see Clea in the MCU. And this is a great jumping on point if you are brand new to the character. If you've read a lot of the Strange Tales, which she first appeared, this has a lot of head nods to that as well. So that's my pick of the month. I was really anticipating this series, and I'm really glad that it really hit the mark for me.
Awesome. I'm glad you really enjoyed it. My thoughts are very different from yours. So if anybody else has some thoughts on this book, I'd like to hear those first.
I thought the magic looked really cool.
Right.
Again, it's got kind of that luminescence that Nick was talking about. I mean, it's not quite as strikingly white as what we saw on the cover of that Swamp Thing, but it's got that luminescence to it. I think the action's drawn well. I like the dynamic between Wong and Clea. My favorite part of Death of Doctor Strange was watching Clea and Strange reconnect, even though it wasn't her Steven. You know what I mean?
Right.
But that I thought was cool. I don't know much about. I'm new to comics. I say that to everybody. So my Doctor Doom knowledge is fairly limited. I do feel like he seemed neutered than what I was expecting, but maybe that is how Doom kind of is. But other than that, I enjoyed it. I'm gonna keep grabbing it. I liked it. So
yeah, I'm not completely sold on Jed MacKay's writing just yet. I read Death of Doctor Strange, most of it, about a little more than half of it, and it didn't quite grip me that much. I did read this one, and I did enjoy it. It was mostly because it was new number one. It was going to be a character I don't know much about, so Clea, obviously, and then just kind of touching base again, seeing where we are right now with Doctor Strange, and it was fun. I like how aggressively. How aggressive she kind of was in this whole thing.
Right.
They kind of understand the marketplace, and like those thugs come in trying to take advantage of the Sorcerer Supreme being gone, and she just steps up and takes that place. And I like her aggressiveness in it. And like Manny was kind of saying with the Doctor Doom bit, it's funny to kind of see Doctor Doom come in trying to throw his stuff around, and then he gets immediately shot down. You know what I mean? He gets taken out and neutered right there. So
yeah,
I thought that was pretty fun. I think it was pretty entertaining for sure. Yeah.
I mean, Doom's gonna be back, so like that's.
Yeah, he's always
in
coming
the
back.
solicits, but he's not going to back down. So there's going to
Sure.
be that kind of war going on, and then her dealing with Strange. There's a lot of working parts of the story that I'm excited to see unfold.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it's interesting because it's crazy that the first book I agree that with you guys that I read was a Marvel book. Like this came out a couple weeks ago, and I was in the shop and one of my friends was like, "You got to get this." I was like, "I didn't read anything from the previous series," and they're like, "Oh, well, the trade came out." So I did something I don't typically do. I bought the trade of Many Deaths of Doctor Strange and then bought that issue number one. And I knew nothing about and I've even blanked on her name. Clea, is that it? Clea.
Mhm.
See, I knew nothing about her. So I like the relationship that we got in the Many Deaths of Doctor Strange. I think I appreciated issue one a lot more because I read that. Those last couple issues really set the stage for her and for her relationship. I don't know. Like, she seems like she's a pretty dominant character, which is new to like it felt a little off because it felt like a different character switch. And maybe they did that on purpose because, now she is in the Sorcerer Supreme role, but it just felt a little out of place for me on issue number one of how she was portrayed in the earlier series. And again, I'm going off of someone who is not, I don't read Doctor Strange. I don't read, very much. So my knowledge of the Sorcerer Supreme came from the Doctor Strange Inception movie.
The Inception movie?
Yeah, because they were like, how do we do the magic? Should we just have like energy blasts and shit? And they're like, no, Inception.
No,
They're like, what does that mean?
Did you
Who
see that
cares?
movie Inception? Let's do that. And let's
I
do
was
it
talking
not
about
as well.
that with Brian the other day. Brian, Brian, the Brianiac here at PCP, the Excitable Crew. He's a huge Doctor Strange fan, and he loves that movie. And I don't like that movie, right? And I think that's just, and I was like, that's like, I still like, that's the, whatever. That's an ass backwards weird way to try to show magic in the Marvel Universe. And it's literally just someone being like, bruh, Inception, man. Like, if we could just do that, I think we can make it work. Anyway,
and then you're Peter Parker and you're super smart and you recognize geometry immediately, and then you can like fix that.
Right.
whatever. Okay.
Wait, is this that thing?
That's not how magic works. But anyway, this was a disappointment for me personally. I'm glad y'all seem to enjoy it, but like I do like Jed MacKay. I think his Moon Knight's awesome. I like his Black Cat. I think he could be an up and coming writer at Marvel. He's like, at this point, he's probably like 5 years away from an event. You know what I'm saying? Like they're gonna, you know what I'm saying? That's just how it works. You can see these cycles repeat.
Right.
Death of Doctor Strange, I really liked it first, and then I did not like the ending because I just thought that was stupid. They're like, oh, they bring him back to kill him again. It was so weird. He died 3 times in that book. It's so weird, man. But I was like, the deaths of Doctor Strange is what they could have called it. Like, in fact, they should have called it the 10 deaths of Doctor Strange. But I was looking forward to Strange number 1, and I didn't really like it. Clea was a little bit off to me, but she's been gone for a while, so they're kind of redefining that character. So they're just trying to update some things about her and trying to show that she's badass, but I don't know if they necessarily, I think they could have built that up better. Like, Doctor Doom is not a threat to bring in issue 1 to be tossed away like that. Like, Doctor Doom is something to build up to. Like, there should have been a lower level magician threat.
she threw away.
Exactly, to build up into Doom, because Doom, honestly, like when they deal with the Sorcerer Supreme, like whenever Steven's lost that title or has died or anything like that, or the idea in another universe, like Doom gets that title, and it's like, it's a heavy threat, because there's even a bit in Death of Doctor Strange, I think, where there's like, it has to be you, because otherwise it's going to be Victor. You know what I'm saying? So like, there's just, I didn't like the way that was handled. I thought that how you can actually look at the original artwork and it looks great, and the artist is amazing, but there was something they did in post, whether it was through the inking, they really oversimplified some of the artwork, and through the coloring didn't quite, like, that's the thing. I miss the inker, like back in the day when they did the job of what the colorist did today. And I do appreciate modern day coloring, but there are certain things I miss, and like there's some richness that was lost to me in the artwork. So I didn't necessarily like it overall, but I can see how some people would, especially because it's the start of something new, right, Brandon?
Right. Yeah, I mean, I think the Doctor Doom bit, I mean, obviously he's going to be there for like the next few issues, so I like that. The reason why is like she came at him like that is because whenever Doctor Doom never like fought any of the classic battles that her and Steven did back in the Silver Age. So now that she's back in a role where she can handle everything like she once was, I think that's like what Jed was getting at more was, like, I've been here since day one. You got to get in line because you're new, right? The people who've been through these wars know me and they know Steven. They don't care for you. You're not Doctor Doom in this realm. You're just Victor.
Yeah.
So I was like, that's cool because someone has to say that to him.
It is crazy that we're like 5, maybe 6 weeks away from the Doctor Strange movie dropping, and right now he's dead, and Clea's the Sorcerer Supreme, and the book is called Strange, and let's just say somebody did happen to walk into a comic shop and be like, I want the new Doctor Strange book. What's going on? Oh, new number 1? Wait, where's Doctor Strange? What's going on?
Oh, he's dead?
If I had to recommend a Doctor Strange book, it would either be The Oath or Jason Aaron's run. Like, they're other than just going back to the Silver Age. Those would be like the first two. But
yeah, but if someone's new coming into a shop, they're gonna want something new and not something.
Yeah, that's why I said probably The Oath would be the best way to start someone.
Is that I don't know. See, I don't read Dr.
Brian K. Vaughan, Marcus Martin.
But then you got the problem though. Like someone comes in, you go, okay, check out The Oath, and they go, oh, that's $20. Right. Oh, I wanted like a $3-4 comic, and then you're like,
we don't. The only thing we have is the Wade run, and that was terrible.
But
I mean, you can't tell me that I know DC gets knocked a lot for their moves. You can't tell me that the reason the next villain in Detective Comics, now that arc's done, is the Riddler. Like,
what's crazy is though that should have been the villain in the Batman book that month.
It should have been. They should have done it. Yep. They should have done that. Had that arc just end a little sooner. So as soon as that movie dropped, because it is going to be 2 weeks out or from still today.
It's still better time than Marvel's weird right now. Like, okay, so when this last Spider-Man movie, which was a huge smash hit, came out, Peter Parker's in a coma, Ben Reilly Spider-Man, and now Doctor Strange is about to come out. He's fucking dead. Like the best thing they got going right now is like Moon Knight. That's perfectly fucking timed. We're like into an established Jed McKay awesome Moon Knight run. And
we have
Moon Knight you can go back and pick up a couple issues or something like. Right. And even the first couple are on the Marvel app, and you can still get new ones.
So. Yeah, there's second and third prints.
The trade paperback just came out.
Okay, well,
about like a week ago, a week or two.
So they do know a little bit of what they're doing.
They're hit or miss when it comes to timing.
Just that one associate editor probably apparently on Moon Knight. Like, shit, we're doing Oscar Isaac. Fuck, we got to get this lined up. Anyway,
but like during What If, now they just started to reprint all their What Ifs and actually do What If again. I mean,
I know, like after the fact.
Yeah, right. Like, now that no one cares, but
here's the thing: it's not a What If book. It's a Milesverse book. That's the thing I don't like about it. Is that they do.
I didn't even bother.
They did Gwynverse. And they're doing Milesverse at the same time. We're like, we can't call them both Milesverse, Gwynverse. Well, we'll call the one What If.
What if?
Nick, what about you? What's the pick of the month?
There was a few books that were just like way better than I expected. So we're gonna go with one that was probably fits that criteria, and I think it's one that you enjoyed as well. But it's actually Rogues. So we have Rogues from DC, and I didn't have a whole lot of DC on my list, but I wanted to spotlight this one, give it a little bit more time. But what I like about this one is it's basically like Ocean's 11, but with DC villains, and like Captain Cold is just kind of what was he doing? He's working in like a box factory right now. He's getting a
Yeah.
parole officer coming in, checking out him, trying to find like, paraphernalia, his old weaponry and stuff like that, trying to see if he's going straight. And he appears to be going straight in this whole thing, but he's working at a box factory, trying to work his way up to like the manufacturing ladder, corporate ladder. And he just gets absolutely shit on by his leadership. And he just kind of breaks bad in that moment again. And he tries to get like the ragtag team all back together again to pull off the greatest heist that they've ever been able to pull off. But it's been like brewing in his mind. It was a seed planted a long time ago, and they explore that a little bit, which is basically they're going to rob Gorilla Grodd. And he's got all this money out there, and it's insane. And it's like, that's like the worst place you would want to go to like steal, the worst person to steal from, right? So he's going to get all these different guys together. I just love that theory. I love that idea. I like seeing all these like old retired guys kind of getting back together. And just kind of, trying to form this team. And then that jailbreak scene, trying to get Mirror Master out. I thought that was hilarious. And he's not playing around. He takes out some guys in a pretty ruthless way. So he kind of like, he shows everybody he's serious. He's in on this. It was really great. Josh Williamson, awesome book. And I like, I don't know if it's Lopes or Lopez or whatever I believe it's on the coloring. Loved him ever since Supergirl. I worked in a Supergirl reference, even though there wasn't a Supergirl book
Heck
out.
yeah, Nick, I'm so
All right,
proud.
well, I appreciate that.
Yeah, but this one was way better than I thought it was going to be, and I had high hopes for this one, so loved it.
It's really good. It utilizes that format, the Prestige Plus or whatever, very, very well. The artwork by Leo Max or whatever is
it's insane. It was
love
good.
it. Oh my goodness, like a confident line, but it adds density and richness there. I love the story. Like you described it perfectly well, like Ocean's 11, but with the rogues. So you could be, oh, that's like super crooks, but it's a lot different than that. And it feels very blue collar. And that's what I love about the rogues in the Flash. Like the Flash's rogues gallery is one of the top rogues galleries out there, even though you may not think of Weather Wizard and Mirror Master and Heatwave as being up there, like say the Joker, Two-Face, Poison Ivy, Bane, or Dr. Octopus and Green Goblin. You may not think that the Flash's rogues are as powerful or as threatening as say Spider-Man, Batman, X-Men, Fantastic Four even, right? But they have this camaraderie, right? They got this blue collar aspect to them. Joshua Williamson has already proven that he understands the world of the Flash, including the rogues, because he had an outstanding extended run on the Flash. Leo Max artwork. This was the artist of Basket Full of Heads, and I lament that he's not the artist of the new one, right? Because there's something missing in the artwork. There's something lost there. But I'm glad he's doing this because it's a great book, definitely worthy of this. And when it comes out in like a graphic novel, the DC Black labels that are done in this Prestige Plus format, the hardcovers are amazing productions. They look great in bookshelves. They look great just reading them. The quality is really high, top notch. And this has the potential to be one of those perennial evergreen stories because it just it's that heist vibe, but done with these characters that people know now because of the Flash TV series and shit.
Right.
Yeah.
I really agree with you, Robbie, on that. And Nick, too. You guys both did a great job explaining this. I loved Williamson's Flash run. I'm not the biggest Barry Allen fan, as I've probably stated multiple times. I'm more of a Wally West guy, but Joshua Williamson really made me like Barry in that run. So I think he did a really good job telling that story. And he had a lot of fun with the rogues. So I think this was more of like his extension for the love of that world. And I love seeing these characters interact. He changed up a lot of the language a little bit so that it matches like them being veterans, for the most part. So I really liked it as well. It was great. I'm excited to see where it's going.
Yeah.
And
I liked it a lot. I will say I'm in the minority though I really wanted a different story out of this. I wanted the story that we got in the first 10 pages. I know no one else wants that in the comic book, but I really wanted to live in that world of retired supervillains and what that life looked like. Because I mean, you feel for Captain Cold, who is a pretty douchey, villain already, in his run. And within the first 3-4 pages, you go, holy crap, like I feel for him. Like the boss is, you know, like, oh, it's just a diversity hire. Like we won't even have to pay him more money, but like what a loser. Like he's not that scary. And like, you know, his mural that he loved, like it's like they just like gut him right at the beginning. And that's kind of like I wanted to hang out in the villain bar more. I wanted to live in that world of what is a rogue like, you know, once they aren't at the capacity to do what they can do. With that being said, I still like this a lot. I enjoyed it, but I was vibing it for the first, you know, couple pages. I'm like, oh, we're not going to stay in this world. Shoot.
Yep.
I dig what you're saying there because that was a very fascinating kind of thing. But at least by utilizing that format, they were able to spend longer than they would in a typical, like if it was a 20-page or even a 25 or 30-page first issue. They wouldn't have been able to spend as much time there, right? And they spent a lot of time with him and his relationship with his sister too, which I think is interesting because Golden Glider, even in continuity, has dipped in and out of the rogues, right? There's times where she's like, look, I'm done with this life. So that works, right? There's that understanding. But I dig what you're saying. That's a very Mark Russell type story, right? Where you stay in the idea of like retired villains and just hating their fucking life.
It is a very Mark Russell idea, and I love Mark Russell, but that's why I was excited for like Joshua Williams' take on it because I feel like it would almost, you know, Mark Russell would do what Mark Russell does, which is be awesome with it. But I'd almost want to see a different person's take on that because I feel like we're getting that a little bit with One Star Squadron of like what do you do when you can't be a superhero or effective superhero? So
it's like I like One Star Squadron. It's like, what if The Office was a really scathing criticism on corporate office culture, as well as using D-list DC heroes? My bad. They use a lot of D-list. They use some B-list. Power Girl, Red Tornado, they're B-list. Okay, right. I'm not hating on them.
I think like the biggest prop to this book is it's like this book and then Catwoman Lonely City, Swamp Thing, is that DC's able to take chances more in their Black Label books, right? With more obscure characters or groups that normally wouldn't get an ongoing or even a miniseries. And I really, really like that. And it's going to look great in that prestige format like we talked about earlier. So hopefully that can encourage them to dive deep into other characters as well in the Black Label.
A lot of DC love so far, y'all.
Yep.
A lot of DC love this month. So now I'm very eager to know. Greg, it's your pick of the month.
It's a Marvel book.
I could have picked a lot of different books. I was thinking about this coming in. And I just reread it today. And I really, really I haven't been on the series like hyped for a lot, but I really liked Crossover this month.
Yes, it's on my list.
I really dug it. Like it kind of went through arcs for me. Like the first couple issues were high and then it kind of dipped. But this arc that they've been on ever since the one-off of the Chip Zdarsky story, this kind of story that they're telling now has been fantastic. And the opening first 5 pages where Negan goes to, you know, Robert Kirkman's date is fantastic. He's like, and like,
I'm like, does Robert Kirkman really have a fucking bouncy fucking ball pit and castle?
I hope so. God, I hope so. I hope it's like the house from Big.
Does he got a statue of fucking George Romero? Like, that's fucking badass, man.
As like the only people reading this are comic book lovers, and he's like, and Negan's like, is there a kid that lives here? And I'm like looking around in my room as I'm reading this, going like, oh man, Negan would say the same thing to me. Like, crap.
Yeah.
And you know, it was, and then when he like literally. If you haven't read it, gang, sorry, it's spoiler. Like, you know, when he takes Lucille right to Kirkman's head and his eyes pop out like buck wild, and then he literally is like, that's what you get for what you made me do to Glenn. I was like, that's so freaking good.
And with that was Phil Hester doing that little sequence too, and it kind of had that Adler film feel, so it felt like walking down.
Was this Hester? Yeah,
and then, you know, and the whole, I've really enjoyed the arc of, you know, the artists, the writers that are kind of like, hey, we're taking over. And, you know, even the tongue in cheek of like Donny Cates, like, I have to shave. And she's like, why'd you shave? He's like, you know, the whole Alan Moore look, people were confusing me for it. Like I had to look like myself. I appreciated like those jokes. And I really dig when a story can not take itself seriously. Well, it's a fine line to walk, and I think it's been doing a really good job so far in this story.
Right.
And
like it's goofy, but not too goofy to the point where there's no story.
Well, not even goofy as just of like that it's taking itself seriously, as in like you make it feel like the characters really believe it, but there still is this kind of like, this is absurd of the writers are writing themselves into it, you know, like, so maybe goofy. I don't know if goofy is the word I like, but we're probably saying the same thing, Brandon. I just don't know if I like
probably different word choices.
Fun. It's a fun comic.
Yeah, having fun and enjoying what they're doing with it. And I mean, come on, the comic should be fun, and so why can't writers have fun every once in a while too?
It's harmless. Read
He stabs him. He stabs that agent with the speech bubble with the.
Yeah,
he stabs him with the comic.
That's like such a great moment. That's such a great moment, and it's a little bit of a heel turn, right?
Yeah. And
what I love about this issue, I think it's the second best issue of crossover.
Yeah.
And still the best one is to me the Chip Zdarsky issue.
Yeah.
But like now we understand. It puts that issue in context. So when this was first announced, crossover. Okay, so we're expecting, is he actually going to cross over DC and Marvel? Are they doing some people thought that, not us, you know, because we're smart. We there's no way.
Yeah.
This is never going to happen. They couldn't even put out the JLA Avengers in adequate quantity in honor of George Perez. You get what I'm saying? They're like 7,000. Nobody's going to make any fucking money on that except for speculators. All right. But we were anticipating they could cross over. Spawn should show up, Mrs. Savage, Dragon, all this. And they started giving us that stuff. Mike Allred's Madman shows up. You know, we feel like Superman's about to show up, but it's Mike Allred's Madman. So he knows what people are expecting with this project, this undeliverable promise. So instead, he's Mike Allred. Okay, he's using his payback characters he co-created with Elliot Rahal. And then the Bendis stuff with Powers. They bring in Bendis. Okay, they brought in Kirkman to do the crossover. Is not just about the characters, it's about the creators too. And that's what's really cool. And Donnie's painting himself as the upstart villain in this picture. It's very self-defacing, but also very pretentious, you know, at the same time. And he comments on that. He goes and one of the reasons why he's like, I got to change this Alan Moore thing, because it's gone too far. That bit's gone too far. People are thinking that I'm trying to equate myself with Alan Moore, but he's playing with that. Right. And there's creativity here. The idea of the word balloon and using it as a fucking weapon, that takes it to another level. So this second arc of crossover has slapped, man, harder than Will Smith.
It only took us 38 minutes to get
I think somebody said that. Yeah, Evil Face Bad said that about Swamp Thing. So I just stole that.
Well, you could have just. I didn't see it, so you could have just stayed with it. Robbie.
I didn't want to lose a sub.
Robbie's stealing my jokes, and Bearded's too dumb to read the chat to notice.
Anybody else thoughts on this issue?
No, anything with Negan's good with me. People know that. Yep.
All right, there you go. For my book of the month, surprise, surprise, it's a fucking Marvel book.
It's Hulk Grand.
It's Hulk Grand Design Monster, man. Let me tell y'all, this book blows me away. So I am a fan, of course. Let me get this out of the way. I'm a big fan of cartoonist kayfabe. I love their YouTube channel, but I also just love their fucking work. Before I got into their YouTube channel, I was into Ed Piscor's work and, of course, Tom Scioli as well. And I'm aware of their grand design work. Like X-Men is awesome. Fantastic Four by Tom is awesome. And I'm super happy now. Jim Rugg is one of the creators of those three. And, of course, cartoonist kayfabe is Ed and Jim, but Tom's on there a lot too. I'm aware of their work and have been aware of their work. Jim is new to me. You know what I'm saying? So I just got the Street Angel collection several months ago. I haven't dived into it. I got Plain Jane's. I got some other things. So I was really excited to see his take on this, but he's using the Hulk now. So this is the first 300 issues of the Hulk distilled into a very easily comprehensible yet comprehensive narrative that I loved. But Jim Rugg upped the fucking ante, right? He outdid Ed and Tom, because instead of just telling a very dense story in a really interesting, cool way with great artwork, he took every page as a challenge of design. Each individual page is its own thing. This is like Daniel Clowes level fucking thinking. This is like Death Ray. This is like 8-ball type shit. He's learning a lot of tricks from Tom and Ed. So like Ed used this amazing effect where Ed's Ed Piscor designed this whole project. Like, it's all in their contracts. Like, it's got to be this type of paper. It's got to be reprinted this type of way. They care. And this is also the highest quality physical artifact Marvel's produced probably since the last fucking Grand Design issue, right?
Yeah.
But it is beautiful. And Ed used that yellowed newsprint type color to make those whites really pop. So Jim does that. But what he does do is that Klaus type shit, where each page is its own individual segment. And like on the first page right here, it starts off with Banner's eye. They're looking at him and they're trying to figure out what's wrong with him. It ends with him turning to the Hulk, but the first thing you see is the eye motif. That is just very simple. The line work is amazing. The coloring is amazing. And he has these great moments. And Jim Rugg is a big fan of like design and lettering in particular. And I love that they're referencing the actual issues. He's incorporating those logos. That's not something that Tom and Ed did necessarily at all. This feels different. It's still a Grand Design book. It's still a kayfabe book, but it's different. And you have this collage type stuff that he's throwing in there to go through. And I am astounded at the use of different media, the use of black and white, the use of washes. There's a part that's honoring Rampaging Hulk that has a wash. Jim Rugg apparently never uses washes, so he was trying to figure that out. He's using so many different things. They feel old school. They feel cheesy. Look at that heart with Hulk and his lover, and then it breaks. I mean, that's just like, and every page, it's like comic strip thinking. You know what I'm saying? They all have to work. There's Dr. Doom's panel. You got a whole page to the confrontation between Doom and Hulk. And you got the Dr. Doom lettering font from the superhero villain team up or whatever. You got references to actual pop culture, like when he shows up on the Rolling Stones magazine. So you have all that stuff all done in different things. I'm trying to, and then you got this. That's Jim Rugg did every single line on that on a piece of notebook fucking paper with markers and ballpoint pens and colored pencils. So good. Bruh. Yeah. What the hell? That's better than any cover Marvel's published. Now, obviously, it's an homage. But yeah, there's that Rampaging Hulk bit with the ink washes. Look at that. This book it just blows me the fuck away how a brilliant concept already, taking an independent underground alternative cartoonist and having them distill a history of a Marvel legacy into just a few issues. And he's leveled up that concept. It amazes me, and I cannot wait till the next one. And I'm telling y'all, I'm putting this out in the world. We need a Grand Design Spider-Man. I want Jim fucking Mahfood to do it. Oh my God, just imagine that in your head. Let's will this shit into existence. Anybody read this book? You got any thoughts? Am I overselling it? Or I mean, I just fucking love it.
You're not overselling. I will say the one frustrating part is I freaking got the fingerprints on my book from just reading it. Like, and I'm like, so I don't know if like just how the ink they use that Marvel didn't know what they were doing with actually good quality paper, that they're like, oh, what type of ink do we put on here? But I
wait for that trade paperback because those Treasury editions are glorious.
Yeah.
So yeah,
like a hardcover. Oof,
well, I think it was Robbie last month when I was on. Someone was talking about Hulk with Donny Cates, and I read the first issue or two, and I was like, it's not for me. And that was my first ever time reading a Hulk book, and so I don't have very much back history of the Hulk. And then you picked it out as your pick of the week. Fire Guy Ryan was messaging me in my chat like, dude, he's like, this is a good book. And so I was like, all right, I got to go pick this up. And as someone who's never read Hulk, I appreciated this so freaking much because it was easy to read and it was easy to follow along. But I kind of got that grand scope of everything that I missed. And I don't have to go back and read 180 issues or, however many. And like, as I was reading it, my one issue with the whole concept was, I was like, I wish they put footnotes in or something and denoted like where they came from the issue. And then sure enough, they have that all the way in the back. Yeah. And it's so much better than what I wanted because it would have gotten lost and muddled and confused in there. And this is so much better. And that's why I guess I don't edit and design comic books. I just read them because I was like, oh, smart way to put that in the back. But man, this was a blast. The layouts, I've never seen something like this. I don't know if they did that in any of the, the style in the previous Grand Design books, but I was like you said, the crossovers of bringing the comic book covers, bringing the pop culture references and the Rolling Stones, they're talking about the cartoon show. And I'm just like, this was such a great overview that it feels like if you looked at the book, you're like, oh man, this is going to be way too confusing to read. It really wasn't. And I was so glad that I picked it up. So props to y'all for raving about it, because I would never have picked up this book if it wasn't for you and Ryan.
Station. I love Ryan's taste, by the way. We got to get Ryan on this show one day.
I liked it. I mean, I like I was telling in a different chat, I really dug the design. As a graphic designer myself, I think that everything in here really pops. This is probably my favorite page, the way that he intentionally oversaturates the Hulk and then desaturates the background. Like that just has so much life to it, and so much it's eye-popping. The only thing with this is it kind of just felt more like a scrapbook. You know what I mean? Like, as far as reading it, X-Men Grand Design was far more narrative in the way that it told the story. Like, if you read that, you felt like you're reading a comic book.
So it was Fantastic Four.
Yeah, and that one I haven't picked up yet, but now that I know it exists, Robbie.
Oh my man, it's great, man. Tom Scioli's got that Kirby type style, and he also somehow fits like 30 panels on a page. I don't know how.
Oh, dude.
Did someone say Kirby?
Yeah, no, Brandon, you're not allowed.
I have it.
but that said, it feels more like the Marvel Encyclopedia, and I don't mean that in like it's not the Marvel Encyclopedia, but it has that kind of novel, like the books you find at Barnes and Noble. You know what I mean? You're like, this is what you need to know about the Hulk. So I love the artwork. I love the aesthetic choices. The times when it looks like he like cut out a piece of a comic strip. It's like it's got that it's got like the trailer from Miss Marvel kind of vibes, where you've just got like cutouts and shit popping out. You know what I mean? Like I like that. It's just
But Taylor's got a good point. He's like, X-Men did have more of a narrative arc than Hulk, though. Like for 100+ issues, it's just Hulk fighting fucking
right. True. So yeah, I enjoyed it. I didn't put it on one of my picks just because like it didn't feel like a story to me so much as just like an art piece.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Are you Manny? Are you a Hulk? I mean, have you read a lot of Hulk, or is this kind of your first exposure to it? I'm just curious if like opinions differentiate a little bit because of where you're at. So
yeah, no, it's not my first Hulk book, but I don't read the Hulk on a regular. I mean, I did try to read Starship Hulk, but I'm not smart enough to get it.
It's a simple story. I'll break it down.
You got to be dumb to get that. You're not dumb enough to get that problem. I mean, but I'm trying to get dumb enough to like it, and like you just turn off that shit, and you can like Cates' Hulk. I think.
Yes.
Yeah, I just go into pilot mode. I'm like, Donny Cates' Hulk is dope. But
that's right.
I actually like it though. I actually like his Hulk, but I have not picked up Grand Design. I'm looking to get that in the Treasury Edition. That's where I have all my other ones, so I'll continue to keep that the same.
Yeah, but I think you're right though, man. It does have that like that generic Marvel, like this is the very distilled version of the characters. This is the milestones, the highlights you need to do. But I think that's the point, right? It's not supposed to be a narrative. It's not supposed to tell this like extremely fluid narrative story. And so it's just hitting on those highlights. But the creativity. How many times
this Hulk dies in this, right? Like I was just like, damn, he mentions I feel like he dies.
Like in the first 5 pages, he dies. Like,
doesn't he like almost die like every second or third issue in the Silver Age?
Right. And then the leader, there's the whole thing in the front end of this whole thing. But I think the creation of the book alone, and Robbie touched on this a lot, the creation and the creativity that was put into this book and the quality that was put into it, outstanding. And then the fact that it's a grand design, so don't read this to know all the tiny details of everything. You want the Cliff Notes version, you want the elevator pitch to all these little mini runs that they distill into this book. This is exactly what you want. It's done creatively, it's beautiful, the panels are great, the collage effect is awesome. And I hope they do like a hardcover, and I'll be looking for the other ones for sure, expecting the same thing, but probably not getting it. But this was great. Absolutely loved it.
They did an omnibus hardcover of the X-Men one because there was more content there. He got to do 6 big issues, right? Because it's the X-Men and there's a lot of density in the Claremont stuff. And he only took it up to Extinction Agenda. He only took it up to the point where he was like, after this, I thought they sucked, right? And so like he did. And what I love is that Tom Scioli, Ed Piskor, Jim Rugg, they're all 3 obviously connected through that YouTube channel. They're obviously connected by being cartoonists living and working in Pittsburgh, but they have 3 distinct styles, and they all 3 work differently here. And I love that. All 3 of these books are different. They didn't do a hardcover of the other ones. Now the omnibus format's cool too because it has his original script, which is just his thumbnails with his like hand lettering, and they're all This is hand lettered. This is colored by Jim Rugg. This is designed by Jim Rugg. This is lettered by him. This is everything is Jim Rugg, and he did this for like I think he said he spent like almost 2 years on the out of his life, and it does show, and it's great. And even if it is like got that scrapbook kind of feel, I love that it still differentiates itself from the others, right? That all three of these grand designs look different, and I think that's because you're hiring these great creators that are visionary and innovative, and they have amazing ideas. And that's why I'm like, Jim Mahfoud's got to be next for Spider-Man. Y'all just think about imagine Girl Scouts and the artwork. Oh my God. And think about, and he's done Spider-Man work before, like a few. So like, you can see how that would work. Well, I got to go take a whiz, but Manny, we're through the picks of the month. So now what's the next book you want to talk about?
Oh, it doesn't have to be DC or Marvel or nothing.
Nope, we're not doing any of that.
Whatever. Oh my goodness. All right. Well, then we're going to talk about a book that I gave up on, and for some reason, I mean, I still get it because I'm stupid, but I gave up on this book, and then I read it this month, and for some reason, and I think it was the universe saying, no, you need to read this. Like literally the universe trying to tell me that the moon landing was fake, because Department of Truth was fucking amazing this month. This, like, maybe I should just quit read. Like if I don't read the next 2 issues of Donny Cates Hulk run, I will come back to it and I'll be like, this is amazing. But yeah, this was so freaking good. One of the things I said about this arc that we're in with Department of Truth that I didn't like was that I felt like the first arc ended on like something that should have been more serialized, and we should just finish that story. And then we like went into all these like one-shot type things. Yeah. This one didn't bother me, probably because like the moon landing is like a conspiracy theory. I hear people at my work talk about like constantly. So I'm like, yeah, I can prove it. Tynan has told me so. But the art was really good. I liked the color choices, and Department of Truth uses this palette a lot, so I shouldn't say too much like that it's something groundbreaking. But like all of the blues and the moodiness of it, I don't know. I really dug this. It had a very noir feeling to it. I absolutely love this issue. Yeah,
I actually stopped picking up Department of Truth on this issue, so I'm really I'm like, damn it, now I need to go back and get it. Well, the problem I had with Department of Truth was awesome concept. I really enjoyed the concept of if you get enough people to believe in something, it really kind of manifests itself. They took that concept and they really displayed it really well in the first issue with like, what was it, the flat Earth or whatever. There was a wall in Antarctica, right? Well, there was some convention, and dude got wrapped up.
The secret society.
Right.
Within the government.
Well, yeah. So there was a good way of introducing the concept of the Department of Truth, that if enough people believe in something, it actually manifests. What they did was they followed that one person through his orientation, period, kind of teaming up with different people from the agency. It got real kind of clouded and messy, and then every issue added more and more and more and more stuff to it. And I was like, I don't know how to reconcile this. I don't know how to compile all these issues on top of each other and make me understand the big overall scheme of what's going on in this whole book. And I think I went through the Bigfoot issues. I got through the alien issues. I got through the latest couple, and I was like, I don't know if I'm reading this book because I enjoy it, or if I'm reading this book because it's so complex and I'm challenging myself. And you're just
trying to figure it out, right?
I'm just trying to figure it out and challenge myself to read it. It's very, very dense. It's very complex. Right. And if you love dissecting books and like figuring all that out, figuring that puzzle out, that's the perfect book for you, man.
Right.
That's the perfect book. But like, be prepared. It's homework. I feel like it's homework, but it was a great run while I was reading it. It was a little too much for me, but I'm glad it's still going strong. And that is an interesting concept. I mean, moon landing. Yeah. Who hasn't heard conspiracies about that?
A lot of this, like a lot of like the things you have to understand out this book is most of these conspiracies are based off of important events in either American history or world history, or like stuff that has come up, right? And that had like a very bipartisan argument to it, right? Because we've seen it in Congress, right? We've seen a lot of these concepts almost manifest. So like when this book started coming out, I was like, I was just finishing up school, right? So I was a political major when I was in school. So this book was triggered. This book was extremely triggering to me, right? On all cylinders, because like I was already doing politics in school, and now I'm doing
particularly triggered today.
It's
Brent.
not. I'm not triggered today, but that book, right, was very triggering. It was complex, but narratively, it was so intelligently written, right? Which is, I think, why a lot of us are still picking up, because like you can just look at this book and say this is well thought out. This is a good book. It's a good book, whether you like it or not. It's a great way of storytelling, right? It's very different with the art, the lettering, the flow of this book is very different as well. But you kind of have to know your history a little bit to get it, right? Because there's a lot of things I can just go, whoo,
and know your conspiracies.
Yeah,
right.
I know your conspiracies, not the Avril Lavigne is dead conspiracy, but like actual conspiracy.
Well, like real like conspiracies. Like,
Yeah.
not my bad, not real conspiracies, but like the more paranormal conspiracies, the more wild stuff.
Right.
Like there's an
element.
element inside of me that's a big conspiracy theorist, right? Like there's a piece of me that's like that. Like I don't trust things. I don't trust official statements from governments or corporations or anything like that, right? And like I don't think anybody should. But you know, I like the moon landing conspiracy. I take offense to that. I live in Huntsville, Alabama. We pride ourselves as being like one of the spots where Von Braun came here, and I know people like to talk today. We're like, did you know he was a Nazi? And I'm like, yeah, they told us that back in the fucking elementary school. We knew he was a Nazi, but
Like,
we were
stay
able to
away
use
from that guy. He's
no shit. They were like, hey, like I get it, man. Like, but with the space program, like I have a lot of attachment to that, right? Because of my experience being here. That's probably one of the reasons why I love space and shit, right? So, but I love the way he tackles the moon landing in this one, because it's a way to like, and they've been doing these deviations with different artists and shit, right? And Jorge Fornes did the artwork here. Amazing stuff, like amazing artwork. When they do this stuff, it bothers and annoys some people, but I like it. This feels 100% like a 90s Vertigo book. You know what I'm saying? Like how Sandman or Invisibles would utilize different artists for different one-shot stories or different arcs and things like that. Like it feels like that. And it's building something up. It's building this mystery. Like Sarah McLachlan eloquently said back in the 90s. She was talking about James Tynion. We just didn't know it at the time because he was a kid or something. Way ahead of the curve, Sarah McLachlan was. But I love this stuff. I'm fascinated with these conspiracy theories. I'm fascinated with these paranormal X-Files. It feels like X-Files on fucking acid, man.
Yeah.
Like, and it dives deep, and I love the different artistic choices, and I love the hell out of the book. And sometimes, I mean, for the most part, almost every issue is just people talking to each other.
Yeah.
But the art carries that shit.
Is that the reason your rest stop when I get into Huntsville, Alabama on the off the highway has a freaking spaceship in it?
Yes.
Yep.
Spaceship. It's the fucking Saturn V, bro. What are you?
I don't know. I drive by it.
Any spaceship.
It's not the Enterprise.
When I
Not the
drive
Ford,
by,
it's
at
not
that time when I
3.
stop at that rest stop,
5.
it's like I need to use the restroom. I need to get some food. I don't know what.
And you need to read the placket at the bottom of that spaceship. It's
Yeah,
just,
we got that there in my town.
Fair enough.
Almost anywhere in my town, you can look to the west and you'll see the big giant rocket at the U.S. Space and Rocket Center, and it's the big Saturn V. We actually have the original Saturn V here, and you can like go and see it and shit like that. And we have like a model of Skylab you can like walk through and shit like that. Or I guess the International Space Station. I don't think it's Skylab. Skylab was a different thing. Anyway, all that space is a big thing here. So yeah.
Nice.
It's a good book. I've been reading it for trade though. Like I've been buying all the single issues, but I'm gonna be reading it in trade.
Which they didn't collect any of the deviations earlier. They didn't collect those in trade. So volume 1 and 2 don't have those in it. It's just the Simmons stuff, right? So I guess the next trade will probably be a collection of all these like deviations or whatever they call them, which are like one-shot stories, but they also build on the mythology. Because this one, once again, kind of, who is this whore of Babylon that they're talking about? You get what I'm saying? The chick with the X's, right? I mean, that's the biblical reference. So like, you know what I'm saying? Like, who is this? What this mystery is deepening. What's up with Lee Harvey Oswald? He is a creation of consensus reality, changing reality, right? Like it's so, this book's
wonky.
It's a lot going on.
There was a time where Josh Williamson, James Tynion, and Scott Snyder, when they were all kind of working together during the metal era, they had a conversation with Grant Morrison. I think James got really affected by that. I think James understands magic right now because that's what he's talking about here. He's talking about magic with the fucking K. He's talking about Grant Morrison, Alan Moore, Aleister Crowley,
Neil Gaiman,
Hibbs. He's talking about all this shit. He's talking about magic right now, and that's wild to me. I love it.
Yep,
it's a good book.
Belief as a tool.
Yep.
All right, that was a good pick, Manny. I'm proud of you, man. What about you, Brando?
Grown up.
This is probably not a surprise to anyone. I am going with the book that came out this week, similar to how we talked about Swamp Thing. I'm going with Immortal X-Men #1. I have been
I
really
fucking knew you'd bring up that.
Yeah,
book.
I know. That's why I didn't want to do it first. It wasn't my pick of the month. It was great. I happen to really enjoy Kieran Gillen. He's writing one of my favorite books in Once and Future. He's writing Eternals, which has been great. He wrote Die, which was a great story. So I've been very high on his work. I've went back and I read his Sword miniseries back in the early 2000s, and I thought that was dope. I thought this was better than that, though. This is really diving deep into Sinister's role after like Hellions is over. We're trying to figure out what's going on with the Quiet Council. This is almost a character study on all the personalities in the Quiet Council, and Magneto retiring to Arakko, because he just wanted to pull a Tom Brady, be like, I'm leaving, but I don't know if he'll come back this time around. But I really liked the art in this. Lucas Wernick is starting to really understand these characters in the world of Krakoa. I think Trial of Magneto was a good warm-up for him, getting to draw all of these characters. This book was very vibrant, and Gillen brought up a lot of great conversations. There were a lot of powerful quotes in here. Like one of them was, and I read this today and it just stuck with me, is sometimes Sinister said sometimes being the smartest person in the room is knowing when, almost like when to keep your mouth shut. He said it in like more verbose words, but he's like, I want to let everyone know that I'm the smartest person, but by not letting them know, I'm being smarter, right? And I thought that was great. I'm not really gonna spoil it because it just came out today, but I think that this did a great job as really addressing how the Quiet Council is going to move forward with everything that happened with Moira. So we're getting a lot of answers for that. We're setting the stages editorially. I believe that editorially this is really driven by Hickman, but under Gillen's creativity and understanding of these characters. So I think that you can definitely see like the harmony between the two creatives. I know everyone's been saying that Hickman's been gone, but I have other information about that. So I really like this issue, and I really like Emma Frost's character in here. She's so soft-spoken in here, but every time she talks, it's just like it changes the conversation. It just brings up so many good points, and I loved how Gillen understood all of these characters and exactly how they should act.
Yep.
Did anyone else get to read this?
Yeah. I didn't mind it. I mean, I liked it about as much as I like the X-Men 9 and anything else, that from X-Men I've read. The main issue I'm having with the Quiet Council is everybody. You can't trust a damn person on the Quiet Council.
Game of Thrones, bro.
There's no good people on there. You're either a brainwashed Russian or you're freaking Emma Frost, or what I mean? Like nobody on there except maybe Kitty Pryde.
Colossus is supposed to be like their guy who's like
Yeah.
the most centered, and Nightcrawler, of course. But
Nightcrawler's
a good person, but I think,
Nightcrawler don't do.
Yeah, but he doesn't do anything.
He just sits there. Like nobody
He's
knows
like,
what the hell
are we gonna hurt anybody? Yes, then no.
They all
It's
just
like,
fucking sit there. This is pretty much the whole issue. It's just people sitting there.
Hey, but you know what? When was the last time we had a story that did that successfully? And that was Illuminati by Bendis.
Successfully
They did things in that book. Go back and reread it, bro.
Well,
they actually go out and do things too.
I have read, and I said that they do things, but that was also like the main point of that book was they're just chatting about like what's going on and how to solve problems together, right?
Mm-hmm.
I get it.
Yeah.
I think when you get to this level in society, when you are immortal, is how do you deal with that? Because we're all so vulnerable at the same time, right?
Yeah.
So obviously all these powerful characters each have their own personality. They all have their own agenda. So not everyone's going to get along, which is why they have a bunch of them so that there can be compromise, and Cypher's there, who's pretty goated. He's pretty great in this book, and in this whole Krakoan era. So when you're talking about everyone, there is a dick nonetheless, I think like everyone just is trying to do their own thing for Krakoa, and a lot of them are pretty rattled by the trio, Myra, Magneto, and Charles, keeping everything a secret and compiled, when from the get-go, the Quiet Council is supposed to be like a brain trust, right? What happens when 3 people go behind your back? You're going to want to be pissed at the world, at everyone. You're going to start questioning everybody. So I thought that was pretty well treated.
But only like 3 things happen in the entire issue. Like if you were to distill the plot here, like there's only really like 5 pages. So there's a lot of dialogue. And I feel like that dialogue is just because nothing really happens, right? You got 2 people that want to get on the council. One doesn't get their way, and then that's like leading into the next thing. Sinister, I love how flamboyant he is. I love the characterization in this X era. I think I love them.
Well,
I could watch him all day, but at the end of the day, like nothing. I felt the same way with X-Men 9 this month. Like nothing really happened.
I think a lot of things happened, you know. I think using Celine, her character being on the choir, I was like, that would have been dope to see her, because she's always been kind of niche, but she's been really powerful. So like for Gillen to show her volume, especially the fact that he can do magic characters better than probably almost any creator out there right now. I would say he writes his way of writing magic is far superior. It's on another wavelength from just everyone else. So I thought that was great, and especially like the turn of she's not acting alone was even more thoughtful for Sinister's character, you know. I really appreciate it, and Rachel's gonna be a good this spoiler, but Rachel's gonna be a good added addition, I think.
Yeah, I haven't read that. I haven't read this one yet. I got my books this morning for this week, but it's something I'm looking forward to. So I'm glad you liked it.
Or was it Hope or Rachel? Did I misstep?
It's Hope.
It was Hope. Yeah, my fault. Hope.
I wasn't going to correct you though.
Oh,
I was going to correct myself because I was like, wait, that does not sound right.
Because I kind of forgot. I kind of forgot who it was at first, because there's a lot of this book is forgettable.
It's
for me.
Hope.
I'm just glad that it was Hope, because when he said Rachel, I was like, oh shit.
No, it was Hope.
It's like
I was
this
like,
whole book.
this doesn't sound right.
Now that
I was
you're
like,
saying it.
Rachel's
'Cause
doing
at first
other
I was
shit
like,
right now.
I was like, Rachel wasn't in this issue, was?
Yeah.
Anyway,
My bad, guys.
I mean, they're basically like, for different decades, they're basically the same kind of figure, right?
Exactly.
To say I hated this issue is very strong. I'm not going to say that, right? I like Karen Gillan as a writer. I really do. I don't read Eternals, as Wu-Tang points out, so maybe I can't really. And I am not looking forward to the Avengers Eternals X-Men crossover this summer. That I will have to read every fucking issue of. But
Robbie.
I'm not.
Let me know how it goes, guys, because I'm not reading.
Well, okay, but it, like Manny said, not a lot happens here. I think it is just a bunch of like discussion and talking, and yeah, Magneto leaves. They have to replace him. That's kind of what goes on. Now, the biggest thing is this: Karen Gillan writes the best Mr. Sinister ever.
Absolutely.
Yes.
And this whole issue was Mr. Sinister talking to us. And it was fine for what it was doing. If this was an issue fucking 4 condensed down, I think it would be brilliant, right? Especially with the revelation at the end, which, spoilers, Moira, of course, is gone. She's depowered and dead and all that weird shit. Now she's like robotic techno cyborg Moira.
She's
But
Cyborg from Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Sinister has cloned Moira with powers and is now in control of reality, apparently. So that's a really interesting concept of where this book is going to go. That being said, it's the first issue. You're telling me to trust X-Men. You're telling the audience, okay, Hickman's gone, but you got to trust our vision. You got to trust where we're going. Okay, let's do that. X lives, X deaths didn't do it for me. That's okay. Immortal X-Men's the one I was like, this is what hinges right here. And I trust Gillen to kind of take the torch and do something. I'm interested in this. They market this as X-Men to Immortal X-Men is like Hickman's Avengers to New Avengers, right? Okay, I'm down with that. But if you want me to pay $5.99 for a first issue to convince me that the next phase is worth taking, I need some fucking excitement. I need something explosive, bruh. The artwork was great. What was his name? Luca? Who was it?
Lucas Wernick.
Leveled up from Trial of Magneto. I did not like the art in Trial of Magneto. This was awesome. I love the artwork here.
That's why I said it was like a
I wanted something a little bit. This would have been. They needed some scenes to just pop it. maybe some like big double page spreads of the other mutants currently dealing with things while the Quiet Council's talking about them in a way that you get what I'm saying. There could have
Wouldn't
been
that better belong for another book though? Because this is Immortal X-Men.
no,
This is supposed
because
to be about the
it's a
Quiet
first
Council.
issue trying to sell me on something, Brando. That's what I'm trying to say. Is like it's a first issue trying to sell me on something. It's $6. Why am I investing in this? Now the hook is good. The concept that threads throughout is cool, but it's not worth the cost or the page count to me, unfortunately. Now, and I said it was overly verbose, and people told me in the chat this week or in the comments, they were like, well, Claremont is verbose. I was like, yeah, Claremont's wordy, but he knows at that time in the 80s, especially, he understood flow still, right? But like this one just didn't quite flow as well for me. I'm not saying I hate it. Like, I really think this is an intriguing direction to go in. I just needed, and I think that the audience
like the
needs,
execution.
I just think the audience needs some poppy elements to this as well. At least in the first issue, we needed something. Like, imagine big double page spreads of just random factions of X-Men and mutants and whatever, Krakoans doing things, and then go into a conversational bit with the Quiet Council, and what they're discussing is somehow actually like more so influencing events than the actual on the ground stuff. Like, right? There could have been something there to make it a little bit more poppy. For me, that's all. That's all.
They just came off of like a very exhilarating story of, you had Myra skinning her old partner alive to take his skin to come back in. Like, that's how much more bombastic do you need it to be?
That's to you, and that's like, but that's the previous series, right?
I mean, now the only thing that I've complained about with X-Men that I'd like to see more is, and we've seen in Fractions Run Brewbakers, we kind of see what they're doing on the daily, and getting to know them as people. I feel like in this era where they're more used as plot devices, okay, this character needs to be on this team because of their power set, not really because of their personality. And I'd like to see more of the lives of how we are living on Krakoa, because it seems like we're almost everywhere else, which I like these stories, but I want a more centric home base. You know what I mean? Like,
I get what you're saying. I don't want every time you're on the channel to be talking about wind up in a debate over the direction of X-Men.
Oh, no, I just brought it up.
I'm just going to say I didn't really dig on it.
Yeah, okay, that's
but
okay.
It has some promise.
Right.
Well, the good news is there's about 5 other number ones coming. So,
oh joy!
You're so optimistic, and I love
you
it.
got Red, you got.
Well,
Knights,
it sounds
you got
like I didn't
Marauders,
miss anything by not reading this number one.
There's bound to be something out there in one of these number ones that's going to appeal to anybody, which is probably the point, right?
It's a cool concept, though. Well, I'm talking about trying, like, I get that, but like, we need an overall direction. Right. Yeah. And like, that's what Immortal X-Men seems to be like. This and X-Men, they're promising this and X-Men are what you need. And there was some interesting, like the idea of Sinister having cloned fucking Moira.
Yeah.
That's
insane, dude.
Yeah.
That's crazy. That's some cool stuff. I'm going to read. I like Gillen a lot. You know what I'm saying? I didn't like his previous X-Men run that much though. Right. But that was in the era where like Colossus with the fucking Juggernaut. And I was like, they're doing this way too long. Like, what's going on there? But like Wiccan and the Divine. Fucking brilliant.
Great book.
Love it. Love that book. So I love his Young Avengers. Anyway, let's
talk about something else.
Yeah, what about you, Nick?
I'm gonna touch. So I'm gonna touch
bringing another X-Men book to the table.
X Decibel? No.
Well, before we leave the X-Men, I'm sorry to cut you off, but Eric has a good comment. Immortal X-Men felt like the West Wing, but for mutants. It was legit my favorite X book since X-Men 9.
But isn't that so? Wasn't this like?
I don't know. That sells me right there. Like,
yeah.
that comment sells me right there. As someone who doesn't read X-Men, like the Hobbit number one, I'm like, ooh, I could do that. I could do West Wing X-Men. Let's go.
Well, this is supposed to be like the political breakdown, right? This is supposed to be like the Game of Thrones version of X-Men, right? We're going to focus on the council. We're going to be focusing on the dynamics, the politics, that kind of stuff, the power players and what they're thinking and what they're doing. But it's not about like X-Men where it's like, who's the monster of the week? And then we're going to bring in a couple characters and then like explore their back, develop them just a little bit like they've been doing in some of the recent X-Men books. So this one's very targeted, I thought, from the solicitation.
But wouldn't it have been cool to just and wouldn't it be is not fair to put on the writer, but like have the council talk, but let's cut away. Let's see Eric. Maybe Eric went to Araco and maybe he's starting to shore up support, and maybe that's gonna screw up.
He's doing
what's
that in
happening
X-Men
there,
Red.
you know, like just stuff like that we could have seen little bits of, so we would know what Immortal is.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
I think they're defining so many different paths right now, and they're trying to stay right there. Right. We'll deal with Red when we get to Red. We'll deal with Knights when we get to Knights. We'll deal with Marauders when we get to Marauders. And we're just gonna put a camera in that quiet council, and we're gonna watch them have their little meetings right now, and then if anything happens,
like sending Eric off to X-Men Red. Al Ewing's gonna be ready. That's gonna be dope.
But nobody fucking watches C-SPAN, and that's
well,
the problem here. You know what I mean? Like
it's been around forever. Somebody watches.
Like
I hear you.
Reed Hickman's New Avengers is different. It's different. Like, and even Bendis's Illuminati, like it's different. Like they talk, but then they had these nice like splash pages of like them doing shit. Like it would have been cool if they were like discussing like we need to take care of this, and then just show a double page splash of like certain X-Men characters taking care of what they're talking about, right? Just kind of give us a little bit of action in it, because they're comic books, it's X-Men, and I appreciate it for what it is, but man, we're moving on. I'm sorry. Go on. We all know where we stand. X-Fan.
X-Fan. Yep. I'm gonna bring in an indie book right now. Not one that I haven't really heard a lot of, but it's from Xenoscope. It's All Guts, No Glory. This is issue number 2. So it's actually a 3-issue run, and it's a pretty interesting book. It's actually 36 pages for issue number 2. And the basic premise of this book is you have basically a monster kill squad that goes in and wipes everybody out. They have their stereotypical, like jock guy who's like just violence hungry, and he kind of plays around, smokes a cigar. You have like the one of the captains is female, and she's like really strict and always yelling at the guy. You have the clown, you have the whatever, right? You just your classic like motifs there. But then when they're done, they have this team that comes in and cleans up the guts. They literally scoop up the brains and put them in the waste baskets and stuff. And you have this young high school guy who's kind of like a Peter Parker type kind of a guy. He's kind of picked on in high school, really smart, just trying to get by. And he's on this team somehow. They describe how he kind of gets involved on this. He's kind of like lying to a bunch of people just to kind of get this job, but he's teamed up with this like experienced other guy who's part of this like cleanup crew. And he's a little mysterious. You don't quite know where he came from, what his background is. You learn a lot about that in this issue here. But on one of their kind of routine cleanup jobs, they actually found a vampire lady that was recently turned against her will, kind of like in Moon Knight, like number 1. They kind of went over like these vampires, and is she innocent? Is she not? Oh, she's innocent. She'll be my secretary kind of thing. That would be her in this issue. So they're trying to deal with how they're going to handle the situation. She's innocent. Are they going to tell the kill squad? Are they going to take her out? Things like that. And she's trying to like overcome the urge to like take people out as well. But what's actually really surprising about this book is actually the art is amazing in this one. Again, it's 36 pages long, so it's a little bit extra sized. And they go really deep into the background of this younger character and like his high school drama, and she helps him out with all that. And there was a lot of thought put into this book, I think. And I don't think it's on a lot of people's radar. So I want to make sure that we kind of covered it here in this one. But All Guts, No Glory, issue number 2. Again, it's only 3 issues, and it is $5.99, but it's extra sized, and I think it's well worth it. So if you're looking for something,
a bunch of people talking.
It's only
way more than that.
It's
only $3
if you buy digital.
Nice. Yeah, there is a lot of talking in this, but it's fascinating though. It is fascinating. I really, really enjoyed it. I like dipping into these kinds of books, just like take a chance on them, and this one really stuck out.
I haven't read that one.
Fun.
I didn't read that one because I've never been completely wowed by anything from Zenoscope, so it's usually an easy pass. But you pitched that in a really good way. So.
I check it. I had no expectations.
Who is the artist? Says figure drawing.
Oh, good lord! Is it Tarragona? I'm not entirely sure how to pronounce that name, but yeah, it's written by Tedesco. It's a creative team I've never even heard of. So
okay,
but
my homie
Guillermo Ferraro.
My homie Jay's had some work over at Zenoscope that's been pretty decent, and Zenoscope at my shop's got like a cult following based on basically cover buys, I think.
Yeah.
Because they have some pretty saucy covers.
Yeah.
But I think Dynamite's are even saucier, to be honest.
Mm-hmm.
But Dynamite's got the Vampirella cover this week. It was like 3 chicks licking on Vampirella. And I was like, Whew.
Oh, so that's why at the one store I walked into today,
Just
it had
black
a little,
covers.
little cover over it. It said this cover may be offensive to non-mature readers or something like. It was pretty funny.
Non-mature.
But I didn't want to like be the creep, like pulling the book out to see what it looked like, knowing I wasn't gonna buy it.
Yeah, you know, some comic shops should have some back rooms probably, but I always do feel weird when I'm like, we separate our mature titles from the regular, the other titles and all ages separate from that, but like they're still separated, but from like ceiling to floor. So like there's still Vampirella down at the fucking bottom of the shelf. So I go, we used to do it the other way where it was all the way. Anyway,
You
Yeah.
must
Maybe
be
we
this
should go
tall
back
to read Vampirella.
yeah, basically that's what it is. It's like, yeah, I like that. Anybody pick up this book or have thoughts on it, or Xenoscope, or in general, whatever?
I liked it. I mean, the art's good. I like the look of the soldiers. They got that kind of like the Rock's character in Doom kind of look. I don't know, like the armor and shit they have is pretty cool.
I really like Wu-Tang's comment there, by the way.
There is no in between. Yeah, I'll let you lean one way or the other.
Why do
No
you
man
think,
collects
why do
that
you think
much
Gemini-
Christmas
And I've worked in
material
surgery and
memorabilia.
everything. I've worked in
He said
surgery and
something that
everything
offended
before.
Nick last week.
It's funny when it needs to be. The Peter the Paperclip bit was pretty funny.
Yeah.
It's got like that like gory kind of action horror vibe to it. You know what I mean? When the guy loses his hand in the kitchen, you know, like there's enough gore and action to keep your ass in the seat. It's a fun ride. That's kind of what it reminds me of, just like a fun action horror film.
I want
sure.
to know why none of us are talking about. Manny, can you hold up your book again that you're reading on? Because it looks like you're reading it on an iPod. Like
Yes.
that's the smallest thing ever.
Yes, this is an.
How do you read comics on that, bro?
Dude, I'm Asian. This thing's like half my freaking height, dude. All right.
No.
Only you can say that. I have the only tablet I have is like a Kindle Fire from like several years ago, right? And so like it's as small as that, and reading comics on that thing sucks.
Dude,
I don't do it.
90% of my reading is on this thing.
That's why you don't know comics very well, then, man.
Yeah.
I didn't want to be
just
the one to say it, but
I'm just kidding.
Hey, Fire HD10 works really well. You can sideload Google Play on it, and it's like $80.
He has to
Perfect.
double tap on the panels, so his 26-page comic book now turns into a 180-page comic that he has to read on his phone.
Yep.
I know people that read on their phones, and I'm like, more power to you, bro.
Dude, I can
Hey,
read
however you can do
digitally.
it.
I can't read digitally small. My iPad is the smallest I can go.
yeah,
Do you know
right?
a book you cannot read on a phone? Hulk Grand Design.
No.
No,
It was-
Can you imagine that shit? Can you imagine that shit in guided view? You'd be like, what
Oh,
the
God.
fuck is going on here? I don't
It'd be
understand.
horrible.
Or Echo Lands would be miserable. And
Oh God! And the only way to read Echo Lands on a fucking widescreen goddamn monitor sucks. I'm going to tell you that, bro. You got to have a physical copy of that.
yeah, for
And
sure.
and the PDFs they send us early, they're like fucking scrunched to fit like a regular comic book. I'm like, what is wrong with you? Like, do you want us to care about this fucking book? They eventually changed that. But anyway, hell yeah. Anybody else thoughts on that? Anybody else read it? Nah. Okay. Good pick, man. I'm glad to because I'm surprised, man. We're very Marvel and DC heavy tonight. So like usually like it's all indie love in the first round. And that was the
Yeah.
opposite. So like
Yeah, I saw that coming.
I think March has been the best comic book month in 2022. For sure. So
probably.
Greg, what you got? What's your next book?
As someone who did indie last time, I don't want to get called out. I'm going to go indie again. And I was going to do one, but I have a feeling Robbie's going to talk about it. So I'll just save that so I can talk about another comic. But I'm going with IDW's The Killock, The Artisan Wraith.
I didn't read that one.
That's a great book.
It is so freaking good. So this is the second story arc of the book The Killock. And if you didn't read The Killock, I think it was out, 2020, or it was one of my favorite books of that year.
It hit, because it was during the pandemic,
Yeah.
because it got super delayed because of that. Like, yeah.
Yeah. And the whole premise behind that is you have this robot society, and their death penalty is they put what they call a kill lock on you, where you and 4 other people get synced up. And if one of them dies, you all die. So it's kind of like you can You can live a normal life, but you have to rely on the other people not to die or not, and it could be natural causes, it could be whatever. And so, they kind of create this kind of cult society of these pockets of the Killock. So if you haven't read that first arc, you can still go into this and understand. And that's what I appreciated about Levo Remendali's process. So he introduced 2 new characters into this book here. And you have these 2 robots who are on a mission. They're kind of like mercenary robots who are trying to find what they call the Artisan Wraith, and they're trying to get background on them. And one of the robots has this really super cool ability where he can vanish. He can camouflage, put up a camouflage on him, but every time he uses that, his brain starts to deteriorate a little bit. So there's this really sweet, connection between that. So it's the stubby little robot there and the tall robot there, like those 2. So he's the one that can camouflage and hide. And there's a sweet connection between the 2 of them of just like what he can do and but what he's putting his body through, his robot body through to deal with stuff. But you just get some really, you're freaking with robots. You get some really cool fight scenes of him just slicing off robots' heads and body part. Like it works really well. This is a fun issue. Again, I recommend reading the Killock, the first one, but if you haven't, you can hop right in so far. This is issue 1. I think 2 comes out in a couple weeks. I dug this book. I love everything about this world that Levio has created.
Yeah, the first volume of the Killock was amazing. I read the first couple issues, dropped out of it, but then on this show, Dylan, Bob, and Bueller just kept telling me, you got to read the Killock. You got to read the Killock. So during that pandemic shutdown, I got caught up on that book, and that book's awesome. For a book about a robot society, it is one of the most human stories I ever read.
Yep.
Like that book will touch you. Like literally, like it will reach out and fucking grab your ass and fucking pull your ass in and entrench itself into your soul. The Killock, the initial series, is a masterpiece and an underappreciated comic book of the last 5 years. And the sequel is a different story because that was a complete story. This is a different story in that same world, but it spins out of the very sinister and unsettling ending that the Killock had. And y'all, the artwork is amazing. It looks like some of the best. You know how sometimes you watch like cartoons, whether they're back in the day or even modern, and you're like, man, the backgrounds look better than the actual foreground. What if the background artist did all of it? That's what this looks like. Yeah. That's what this feels like. It is brilliant. Y'all need to read this. Greg, that's a good pick, man.
Yeah, and it's and Levio does the writing and the art on this. So he has total control. Like when he took the Killock, he had it completely done. He bought himself a letter and took it to IDW and said, "Here's a book. I think you'll like it." And they're like, "Yep." And so I was really excited to see that. Like you said, the artwork is fantastic.
And he was a Transformers.
He was a Transformer artwork. So like if you remember like the Transformer Back to the Future crossover, like he did one of those variant covers, I think for Scorpion or something that was really dope. But yeah, if y'all aren't reading it, go check it out. It's fantastic.
Yep. Is it just me and you reading it right now?
I think so.
Y'all, we got to keep IDW in business. Come on, man. There's turtles, man. We got to get there. They got turtles. They got Kanto. Like, read Killock, y'all. Come on.
And Kanto will be ending after this next volume, right?
Yeah, so. let's get some. Come on, man. We got to help him out, man. Fable says, I want to see more work. Yeah, Fable's a big Transformers fan. And that's the thing is, like, you can tell that he's a Transformers artist. But these, it's each, like, there's a mythology, there's a religion. It's a robot society, but there's so many, like they could be humans. And the first, the idea of the Killock in the first series is that these are robots that are outcast from society. 4 get tied together. They don't necessarily believe in a death penalty the way that we would do it in our American society, but like today, but they take 4 people and combine them together so that if one of them dies, all of them die. And so you have these 4 different, basically souls, these robots, but like these human souls in a way that like are so different, but have to learn to come together. And then the way it ends and the way it sets up this series, which is now like more of a detective kind of thing.
Yep.
Right. Like, man, it's freaking good. Y'all need to check it out.
Yep.
What you got for us, Big Rob?
I know everybody's thinking I'm going to do Ghost Cage.
I pulled mine out because I was like, he's probably gonna go Ghost Cage.
My number 2 book was Swamp Thing, which Manny talked about as his number 1 book. So I'm going to go with my number 3.
It's Ghost Cage.
And y'all, I'm not trying to suck cartoonist kayfabe's dick too much, but it's Red Room. Trigger warnings number 1. Okay.
Dang it! I've called it wrong.
I love this
Dang
book.
it, Manny.
Now,
We got to stop saying about it in the chat. This screwed up
I
our
think-
entire
I
pool.
think-
yeah.
yeah.
Damn it.
I think he saw it and was just like, no, screw
no, I
you
did. I
both.
mean, Ghost Cage is number 4. I'm going to tell you that. It's next on the list. But okay. Red Room, Ed Piscor, EC Comics, alternative underground comics, like everything you know and love. I was comparing Jim Rugg's work earlier to Daniel Clowes. And now that I'm looking at Chris Ware stuff for the first time, I see a lot of influence there. Ed Piscor, on the other hand, we're talking Tim Vigil influence. We're talking Kevin Eastman, Peter Laird influence. We're talking Robert. Is it Robert or Roger Crumb? We're talking about Crumb influence here. Like, this is some gnarly shit. Now, this book is not going to be for everybody.
Yeah.
And I say that a lot. And there's very few pages. Okay, so Red Room has already had its first arc. This is the beginning of the second arc. Each issue of Red Room is a one and done story as part of a larger narrative. This entire issue is done with this 3-tiered kind of thing. So you get a full Red Room video in the middle here. And what the Red Room is it's murder for fun and profit on the dark web. So it's dark web snuff films like being live streamed. So like gnarly murders and all this kind of stuff. And they collect Bitcoin, like their own version of super chats, right? And then on the bottom here, you got a black and white strip. And it's one of the people who is a normal dude, it would seem, but is actually one of the murderers on the Red Room. And then the top one, which is in color for the first time in a Red Room comic, which is this dude's daughter and her normal world, right? And so it does this all the way through. It gets to the end. And if you look at the top, as she starts learning more about her father's seedy history and past and what he's up to, including this kind of gnarly ass shit, like she starts losing color in her world. You see that? How it goes to color into the black and white. And then, so he's using color on the top tier. He's using screen tone on the second tier. And he's using duotone on the third tier. Now it's all digital, but it's all like actually captured from like the actual analog stuff. So he actually processed a bunch of paper, like a bunch of pages of duotone, scanned it in. That's what he uses. It's brilliant. Great back matter where he's using like fan art and stuff like that. A great package. It's from Fantagraphics. It's not for everybody. It is banned, I think they said, in 26 countries and 7 comic shops. Not banned at my shop. We sell the hell out of this book because I push it. I hand sell this one because if you like horror, if you like gnarly, gross stuff, and it honestly hurts my heart that Dylan doesn't have every single fucking issue of this because this is a book for horror heads.
Yeah,
Red Room,
that's right
trigger
up his
warnings
alley.
number 1. There you go. Anybody read that? Got any thoughts?
That's too dark for me.
No, I started this one. I actually got this one. My shop, they were shorted, and I had to go to another shop to go get it. But my favorite part about reading volume 1 and this one so far is reading the comments section on these on the actual Red Room message
Right.
boards, kind of like what we're reading right here. It's hilarious, and there's one over here that talks about having to sit through 5-hour Marvel movies just to kind of like get to the end sequence to like, get the grand finale or whatever. So I thought that was a pretty funny commentary, but the comment section is just as crazy as you think it would be. So
Yeah.
I love that, especially in there, but yeah, I got to finish this one, but yeah, so far it's insane, man. Just like volume 1.
I've had people say that there's, and I understand how there could be a visceral response from some people that try to check out this book. It's not for everybody,
No.
like at all. Like
No.
if you like Cannibal Holiday, like if you don't like horror movies that you don't see on network television, you're not gonna like this shit, right? Like this is like Cannibal
It's extreme.
Holocaust Faces of Death. It's very extreme.
Yeah.
The Red Room in this one is they get a bunch of these women and they breed these people. So they're all like inbred and like gnarly and
weird.
grotesque. Yeah. And they take a bunch of what they call breeders, which are the women, and they tie their hair together and then they cut off the foot of one of them. So now they're like pushing and pulling, and it caused like they're showing he's all like, I think there is something being said here. Ed Piscor is telling us a story about escalation of fetish in a way, right? We're talking about how like they need to get more and more creative to make more and more money on these red rooms. Just putting someone in front of you and slicing their throat, that's not enough now. We got to get more creative.
Yeah.
You know, and why are the people in this red room more creative than most comic book creators nowadays? I don't know.
Hey, Donnie Cates and Alan Moore say otherwise. Oh, I meant Donnie Moore.
No, but and the artwork, like, holy freaking cow, this is some amazing artwork. If this was about fairies and fucking butterflies, I would fucking love it, because Ed Piscor puts so much detail, and the way he's using those screen tones, the way he's using that duotone type method, it paints and feels so old school, textured, gritty, gnarly, and real. Like, the art is there, and I think it's trying to say something about the escalation of fetish, the escalation of like, okay, so I don't know, however you want it, 3 lines of Coke is good enough. Well, not next week. It's going to be 5. Then it's going to be 8. Then 10. Yeah. Then you're done 8 ball a night. Then you get what I'm saying? Like
it's the Batman Begins thing, right? When Gordon talks about the escalation of Gotham's villains and stuff, you know what I mean? And you're where it's the same concept, right? You got to get more creative, got to get those views, got to get those donations, right? So what are we going to do? And I think you described it perfectly. Yeah.
And the way that we'll put up with it. And like you were talking about those comments, some of those comments are very disturbing, because you see comments like that sometimes here on YouTube. You know what I'm saying? Like, there are people who are like, oh man, I can't get off unless I watch one of these red rooms. And you're just like, oh my God. And you can tell that Ed Piscor is finding himself in seedy areas of the internet trying to research some of this shit. Like, because it feels real. And I don't think he's like a super sick individual, you know, but I think it's Wes Craven. He understands that this is a part of human nature and it's something worthy of being explored.
Oh yeah. Yeah, for sure. Yep.
So me and Nick, the only ones reading this one, we are the only ones that got the strong guts for this one.
I don't have the stomach for that. Like, you're like, you guys have been talking about these books. I'm like, oh, I could pick up that. I could read that. You're like, oh no, the bodies. I'm like, nah, like, I have the free comic book day, and I can't even read that because I'm like, no, this is going to be.
That's like the tamest issue of Red Room, too.
They took a lot out.
I don't know.
Then they had this cool, like, Killing Joke little thing going on here, that panel right there. I don't want to show
cover your
crazy.
eyes.
Dude,
okay,
no,
I'm kidding. It's too dark for me too. So
I listen, bro. I have
look at that black and white work though.
Yeah,
like,
it's brilliant.
My God,
it's good. It's good.
I have zero shame when it's like I don't do horror. I can't do haunted houses. Like, I freaking went to Universal Studios, a haunted house, and I'm pushing my mom in front of me. Like, I'll punch you. Like, come near me. Like, don't touch me. Like I freak out. So no, like, I couldn't do it.
Yeah, I think Red Room's too dark for me too. So
my kids will pick up
weird.
They'll pick up every book and thumb through it, and it's not that I want to protect them from it. I'm too lazy to have to put it up on a higher shelf. So then they'll end up reading it, and I don't want to end up on the news someday. So I just avoid it for now. You know, I'm gonna wait till they're a little older. They get to be about 6-7 years old, then we can get it
6,
off
7.
and popping.
My daughter
that's the
loves
perfect age, right, Manny? Get them going.
I tell you what, my girlfriend one time, she was she heard me, she knows that this is one of my favorite comics. So she asked me if it would be appropriate for her 10-year-old son.
Oh,
and I was like, you know me, I mean, I'm trying to sell comics. That's my job. You know, like I run a comic shop, you know, and I'm like,
that's $4.
I was like, you need to look at this. Yeah, I think you need to look at this to make a decision, because I can't tell you, because I don't know, man. It's too much for a 10-year-old, I think.
It is
100%. But
for sure.
Man, it's fucking awesome. Like, now, if I was 10, I would love the shit out of it. You know what I'm saying?
Lord.
I'm kind of like, from a 10-year-old's perspective, yes. But from a mother's perspective, probably not.
No. Got to save that innocence.
10-year-old me would have just been like, nope.
Yeah.
Red Room is great, but yeah, it's gnarly. Eddie, you're 100% right. Yeah.
21-year-old me is still like, nope.
It's okay. Wait till you watch Dead Alive with us, man. I'm so excited.
Hey, I
for that
watched
right now.
Texas Chainsaw Massacre, the Netflix one with you guys.
That ain't nothing, man.
It's all
There was a whole-
escalation.
Yeah, it's all about escalation.
It's
as
all about escalation.
good old Eddie P lets us know. All right.
Mhm.
We're an hour and 40 in. How do y'all feel? You want to do another round? You want to go into rapid fire? What do y'all think?
Let's do one more round.
I feel like we can do another round.
I got 4 more books lined up that I could talk about.
Well, we also got rapid fire, young man. So I hope
All
you
right,
paid
I got
attention
it.
and you,
Oh,
you
yeah,
know
we
what's
I got
going
it.
on.
It's all right. I got 20 for rapid fire.
10-year-old Robbie on the back of the school bus with the fire ass red room gore porn. Yes, that was me, man.
You were that kid.
They
Yeah.
do
It
things
was,
differently in a Huntsville.
Hey, Robbie's just a different breed.
My parents didn't give a fuck, man. Like, I'm serious. They were like, watch Basic Instinct with us. We'll just tell you to turn your head every so often. But I would turn my head to the fucking sliding glass door so I could see the reflection. Yeah.
Perfect.
Yep.
I was
So-
smart, man. I knew
So
it was
if Red Room just incorporates some space into this, it's gonna be Robbie's gonna be like perfect.
It was like pick of the year.
Wait, we find out the Red Room actually is on Shuttle 5.
Yeah.
This is
Shuttle
the
5.
best
The
book
fucking
ever.
Saturn 5.
Saturn
man.
5?
Shuttle
Hey,
5.
I started the same letter. It's close enough.
Hey,
Yeah, how
Hey.
dare you call the shuttle the planet name? Okay, I mean obviously, it's not
My
shuttle.
childhood was strictly Disney, Star Wars, and football. So,
All right. Celebratory station to you out there in the chat because you're getting another round. What about you, Manny? Next book.
So many good ones.
yeah.
And he's like, I only brought 2 because I know you guys talk forever. And I was ready for rapid fire.
I have this many left. Let's go.
That's all your books, bro. They can't all be your
No,
pick.
it's not. I wish, but you know what? I'm gonna go Alien number 10. I thought this was a this was a really, really good story. I loved this second arc of Alien. And I did not notice big head mode being put in at all in the first arc. The main character looked like a fucking bobblehead of the artist, and in this one, it was just good throughout. Had a nice sense of dread. I love the idea of like aliens running around like cornfields. That's scary as hell to me. And you know, this book has it in spades. I really, really loved Alien issue number 10.
I know Brandon's a big fan of that, so I'm sure he has some thoughts.
I have a lot of thoughts. I really like this world building that Philip is doing in here. I think Salvador Larroca's art is taking a big step up from this. I'm trying to remember exactly what happened in this last issue because it came out. It was like the first of the week, right? It was like the 1st of March. It was March 2nd. So I also turned 21 this month. So I don't remember a lot of what happened this month, if I'm being honest with everyone. But yeah, so but I remember like what stood out to me initially was like the world building, a lot of the dialogue. Of course, like I feel like as Larroca is drawing more of this book, he's getting more used to the xenomorphs and how they should move. I think especially the first 2 issues, he didn't really get the concept of how this world interacts or how this series interacts with each other, right? Or this franchise, rather, for a better word. But I think that the 2 of them are starting to become a better team. And Philip is probably one of the better, most underrated world builders in comic books. You know, all of the characters here are fresh. They're refreshing. He's still paying a lot of homage to the original Alien series. So if you're a longtime fan of that, you can jump on. And there's a lot of good build up with how we get to the xenomorphs, right? I think that the timing of it is done really well.
Well, it's hopeless, right? I mean, they show up, they get to the place they're supposed to get to. There's like their salvation, and so that's not an option anymore. And then it's like they want to save as many people as possible, but they've lost so much that they can't bear to lose one more. So they all go in to try to get they leave to go get the one, and it's Alien. You know what I mean? What happens?
You go in to get the one, and then you have to send in 7 more people. We get it.
Yeah. So it was there was hopelessness, but there was a camaraderie that's been built amongst these characters. I like the religious undertones. They're not handled as well as maybe as other books have handled religion. You know what I mean? But it feels like Philip is trying to build something there, and I don't know. I dug it. I really liked it.
Yeah. Philip's a good friend of mine. He's a good friend of the show, so I really support what he's been doing. I'm a big fan of The Last God. That was like my introduction to his work. If you guys know John's Comics with Kids, he helped put me onto that book. And then his Action Comics is phenomenal. I would say that's one of DC's better books right now. If I'm gonna rank them, it's in my top 3.
Alien's a weird book for me, and this is the best way I can put it, and I mean this in an incredibly positive light. Alien is a book that I am ready to drop any fucking moment. I want to drop this book for some reason, but I can't. It's
because the coloring sucks.
This coloring sucks, and I don't think it's Salvador's best work.
No.
But
can't draw faces.
Philip Kennedy Johnson is a world builder. And I like that. I like that a lot.
Can I ask you all, because I read the first, I think, 2 issues of Alien. I really didn't like the setup of the story, first 2 or 3 issues of
me too.
Disgruntled son.
Mm-hmm.
And like it just felt so cliche of a typical storyline. But I know people have been going on this. Like, has it expanded into
the second arc is a completely different story.
Yeah. So we didn't really throw away all of the characters from the first volume. We're going into like a different part, right?
Okay.
Right now. So it's new characters. It was weird because the main protagonist in the first series is Salvador Larroca. He drew himself in the damn book, which is my biggest pet peeve because the facial expressions are wrong and he used his own mirror selfies as references. You know, it feels like
he doesn't know how to emote, maybe.
Yes. Or like the hallway scenes, right?
There's something static about the artwork.
Yeah, and it was like the scenes, like the space scenes, or like even the hallway scenes in the ship. It feels like he just copy and pasted from like a Wii video game or like Super Mario Galaxy. Like it was really weird to me.
Do you know who needs to be drawing this? Is Gabriel Hardman.
I was gonna say Pat
or
Zurcher.
James Stokoe. Patch would do a good job too.
I think Zurcher would be fantastic.
Yeah, he would. He's a solid artist, but there's something stagnant and stiff about the artwork here. That I don't like. And the coloring is incredibly fucking muddy. It's like the worst of late 90s, early 2000s coloring. It's like the worst of that shit where everything, like if you just look at it, like if you put it down to thumbnail size, it would all look fucking brown.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
VFX is just not that great. He made Cassera look bad. He made Caceres in X-Force look bad too. So I was like,
well, and remember, Salvador is the dude that did not like Rosenberg coloring him, and I thought that Rosenberg did a great job. What book was that? I can't remember what book that was. It was a couple of years ago. He complained about the coloring, which I liked, and then they changed it. And Guru Effects is to him his colorist because I think he does digital work now.
Yeah,
and it's just there's a stiffness to a lot of digital work that I see today that's not there on the page because I think there are a lot of shortcuts that you can make digitally that make art not.
It makes it more suffocated, I would say.
It just makes it easier to just kind of fuck around. It just makes it easier to fake.
Right.
Certain things. You can take out your if you fuck up a line or two, you can take that out. I kind of like the visceral rawness of ink on page. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Like you make a mark, it's fucking done, bro. I'm sorry.
I love the world building, but I think like the coloring almost brings out more of Larroca's art, where I think its previous colorists and inkers, like on Invincible Iron Man, was able to like kind of tone that down, right? Or kind of hide it a little bit. But it's almost distracting to the books. It's like you want to get into the characters, you want to get into the story, because Philip does a great job. Narratively, it is better than the Dark Horse, if anyone's familiar with those, in my opinion. I can't speak for everyone. But the art is not, but it sticks the landing with the Xenomorphs. Because like, I think Larroca just spent all of his time with the Xenomorphs, and then it's like, oh wait, I have to draw everything else. I'm gonna use myself as the same person.
He might even
everything else up.
I don't know. He might. I mean, you can get more creative there, but he may even lightbox is the wrong word if it's digital. But you know what I'm saying. He may even like kind of like do one of those kind of things. But like, when it comes to horror, and especially sci-fi horror, and that's what the Alien franchise is based on, right? And there's some action thrown in there too. I need it to be dark. What I mean is a lot of spotted blacks or a lot of like nice gray tone scale in there, like a lot of gray scale in there. And that's not what we're getting here. We're getting clean line work that's a little bit stiff, and we're getting coloring that's trying to provide a contrast, but not enough of one. and it's just not, it's not capturing the vibe that's necessary for me. But this
Especially
story
with
is,
a
like I
book.
said, I still am intrigued. This story was way better, I thought, than the first one.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Because this is about a group of settlers, Greg, who are on a planet, and they have terraformed, and they brought this planet to a place where they can survive and live on it. And they were promised by the corporation that they'd be fine and they could have the planet. But the corporation's trying to betray them, so they send the xenomorphs there to take them out, so they can therefore go and take over the planet.
Okay.
So it kind of captures that
Okay.
that like working man versus the corporation vibe of the original Ridley Scott Alien film for me.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I had the same reaction though to the first two issues. I was like, I don't like the motivation. I don't like the angle. I don't like the introduction. I fell off of it pretty quick. But you guys have made a pretty good case for at least the second arc. So maybe I put it back on my radar.
Though apparently we don't like the art.
But apparently the art sucks. Yeah.
It's
the
gonna be
art's not
tough
the
for
best
me.
thing.
Yeah.
Brando, what's a book you want to highlight, man?
I want to highlight, because I know no one else is going to talk about it today. I'm going to highlight Thor, number 23. This was by Donny Cates, art by Nick Klein. We have the beautiful Matt Wilson colors. We were talking about colors just now. Matt Wilson is one of the better ones in the game. He's been one of the better ones in the game for probably going on years now. Probably a decade at this point. Yeah, going back to, probably a decade. So we start out with like a whole flashback of a moment between Odin and Thor. Now, keep in mind, Odin just sacrificed himself to the god of hammers, so that Thor can like carry on and be the king and save the day and everything. You know, typical superhero stuff, which is probably like the most apparent trope in here is like, of course, Thor is just going to pull some god stuff and win. But the way that he does it is it's almost different, and it's really cool. It's exciting. Reading it weeks ago, I was like, Donny Cates is like one of the most exciting writers in Marvel right now, or one of the most, because like classic Marvel, you just like keep getting excited for that next issue. Donny does that. Whether you like his stories or not, you're still talking about it, good or bad. He's still the number one writer that's being talked about. So that speaks volumes to his name. And I know there are a lot of people that don't like him. But he does build that excitement in comic books, right? Does he always stick the landing? Not a whole lot, but this one really did, which is why I was really impressed by it. It was really carried by Nick Klein as well. So with Odin dying, he's imbued his powers into Thor. So he's technically the All-Father until, so he can go against the god of hammers, who got corrupted by Magog, who's like a spirit, and then they're going head to head, right? So Thor ends up breaking Mjolnir, right, which is like his best friend. He's put up with this whole arc, this whole story, these 23 issues have been building his relationship with this hammer and speaking about how they're kind of going their separate ways. Once Thor assumes a role of higher power, his most important piece to him in his mind is that hammer. So he has to almost separate himself. Like, is it me or is it the hammer? Or can I still be the king? Can I still be this person? Can I be my own king instead of living in the shadows of my father without my greatest weapon, the thing that's been with me since day one? So he breaks Mjolnir and he wakes up in a coma surrounded by his family, and they end up piecing together the hammer. And this is really cool because it changed the way we think about Mjolnir. Is there's always something living in Mjolnir. It was the god of hammers originally. Now it's actually Odin, because he hears Odin speaking to himself. And that is a new aspect of Thor's mythos that I think is really interesting. So I really appreciated that. And I'm excited to see where this is going forward, because Donny has a lot more in store with this project. And Nick Klein is just an incredible artist. I'm absolutely digging this book.
Mm-hmm.
I am not as much of a fan as Donny Cates' Thor as I am, say, his Venom run, right?
Mhm.
But I do like it. And it faltered. I was losing interest, I should say. I shouldn't say that the book faltered. I should just say that I lost interest for a moment, for a few issues there, but it's really tightened up during this run. I like it. I feel like he is kind of retreading certain things that we've already seen. Oh, Thor's having a problem with his hammer. But at least he has an interesting resolution to that.
Right.
Which is that Odin's spirit is now in the fucking hammer.
Right.
So now, as you said, they built up this relationship that he had with Mjolnir. Turned out that got corrupted. So now it's a whole new ball game. You know what I'm saying? With
Right.
Odin there. And I like it. I like that a lot. Nick Klein's artwork, like you said, is amazing. I think Matt Wilson's best coloring is not on this book.
No.
But I do like the way it's colored.
Yeah.
But
I
there
would
is
say-
something Matt is really good at coloring a very clean line. For instance, he is exceptional at coloring McKelvey on Wicked and the Divine.
Yep, I was gonna say Dodderman
and
in
Dodderman
Mighty Thor, and in War of the Realms was great.
Exactly.
A great palette.
I would prefer a Mike Spicer coloring on this, because I feel like Nick Klein is
gritty.
Because Nick Klein's got a gritty style that's filled with a lot of weight that is very appropriate to Thor. Now, that being said, I do like Matt Wilson a lot. I do like his coloring on this book. It's an interesting juxtaposition. So I think the book is solid right now.
I think it's like really his coloring is more, I would say, versatile, where I don't think like in this flashback, I don't know if Mike Spicer would have had the right palette for it, I would say, or like the correct line work rather for like that scene in particular.
I don't know, man. Look at Beta Ray Bill, right?
I know, that's what I'm trying to like think about right now. That's like all I'm thinking about is just coloring with Beta Ray Bill.
That being said,
but I'm also
keep Wilson on the book because I think he's learning. I think this is him stretching and he's learning as it goes on. It's getting better and better. I think.
I am really liking this book, and like you said, this is really exciting about how he's doing this whole thing with Odin. And if him and Mjolnir were not getting along at the part, him and Odin they've never really gotten along. Like, they have a big fight, they hug it out. They have a big fight, they hug it out, and then Odin's past comes back to haunt him, which was also one of the biggest themes in this arc, right? All of Odin's past with Donald Blake, with Mjolnir, he gave to him, and he's like, this is gonna be your new BFF, basically. This is gonna be your guy. And now, like, that's corrupted, right? It's what other mistakes could we possibly bring up? And now he has Odin with him essentially 24/7, and they don't get along. So that's really dope to me.
Yeah, it is very much a Sins of Our Father kind of an arc there, which I liked. The whole God of Thunder manifestation, like the way that was drawn, the lightning female-esque thing was a little bit weird, but I do like all the deep cuts that it took to get to that point. There's a lot of interesting things there with Jane Foster's Thor and how exactly Mogag or Mongag, I can't remember, I can't pronounce that name ever. But Magog? Mangog, sorry, how that actually got like twisted up into the Mjolnir's like spirit and everything. So that was a really fun way of kind of tying that all together and how that kind of came to be. So I did appreciate that. Art and everything, color was great. You're right. I think the story did take a couple little dips here and there, and it happened for me right around after Donald Blake or during the end of Donald Blake's area.
Yeah.
Into the story. Yeah, exactly. And then leading into this a little bit.
Right.
And it almost feels like they had two different stories going on. Like I can't really piece together the fact that Mjolnir's getting heavy. In my mind, it's just like, dude, you're assuming a different role now. You're no longer the hammer of Asgard. You got to be the king. So you have to pass this on to somebody else. I thought they were going to go in that direction, and maybe they did. And I'm having a problem marrying those two concepts together, but it was more about like the corruption of the spirit within the hammer itself and how it was tainted and kind of like coming out and facing Thor. Right. So like, I'm having a problem marrying those two concepts together. I feel like the other theory is still there. Like, no, if you want to be the king, you can't be the hammer too. You got to pass this on eventually. And who is the heir? There is no heir, right?
I would say like Valkyrie, maybe. Like,
I mean, yeah, you have people.
Come on, man. It's
you have, of course, right? Beta, you have your names, but it's like we haven't found anybody yet. And are we stuck in the same thing? We're like, listen, we're always going to have Peter Parker as Spider-Man. We're always going to have Tony Stark as Iron Man. We're always going to have. Are we stuck there too? Can we never go past that character?
We do.
That's a broader conversation, though.
We do go past that character, and sometimes what happens is they do it too much too soon. Like Marvel Now or New Marvel Now was trying to do it. Like there was a lot of change all of a sudden, and it threw a lot of the fan base off. Not me. Like a good story is a good fucking story. You know what I'm saying? I love Jane Foster as Thor. I thought that was great. But now that that's over, we need to let's just rest in Thor for a while, until we do an Eric Stevenson or a Jake Olsen or a Jane Foster
Eric
again.
Stevenson. I thought you were talking about the editor at Image.
No, isn't Eric Stevenson? Eric Masterson. I'm so sorry. You're right. Eric Stevenson is the publisher over at Image. Eric Masterson, right, is the Thor of the late 80s. Anyway, Thunderstrike, that's Eric Masterson, right? Or is it Stevenson?
Was it Eric Stevenson? Is the same?
I don't know. Somebody out there.
I just thought you were talking about that guy. I was like, wait.
No, I'm not. But anyway.
All I know is Eric Larson over at Image. I don't know anyone else.
That's what we're talking about.
Not one of my favorites.
But I do like the book. I don't even know where I was going now. No, but I like that it is focusing in on Thor, and I feel like if you take a bird's eye view of Donny Cates' career, especially over the last few years, you see a period probably between his marriage to the end of King in Black where I feel like he lost some focus, which I think is understandable. He was taking on a lot.
Yeah.
He was doing the God Country scripts and he was getting married, falling in love, getting married, and he's taking on all these projects. He's trying to wrap up Venom. You can feel it kind of waver for a moment, but I feel like Donnie's vision is solidified again across all of his books.
He makes comics exciting. You know, you can't say that a lot about writers, and especially in the medium we are in today, right? Speculators are excited for his books. Readers are, whether you like it or not, you're still reading his books. You're still giving him your money. You know.
Thank you, Fable Masterson.
And he has very interesting takes of the Marvel universe, right? And I think he's just having fun. He's just like a guy with a bunch of action figures. And if there's a first appearance, it's because it wasn't like his Transformers bin. It's crossing over in the Marvel universe. It's harmless. It's fun. I'm really digging his work. I think his Guardians was really underrated, though.
I think one of the best things Donnie's done for his career is let somebody else take over his Twitter feed. Since he did that, I really feel like he's focused, like refocused. Like, because Donnie was awesome early in his career and lost some magic, and I feel like he's getting it back for 100%. Like, for
Robbie,
real.
have you read Ghost Fleet with him and Daniel Warren Johnson?
I haven't read that one actually. So
because I have it in
him and
trade.
Daniel Warren. Wow.
Yeah, it's him, Daniel Warren, Mike Spicer. I'm like reading it
Ooh.
right now, or like I have a bookmark in it because it's up next. But yeah, I found that a few weeks ago.
I read like the first issue when it first released, and then I dropped out of it. I have that collection somewhere, so I just need to get to it. Any other thoughts on Thor? All right, Nick, what you got?
We got a book that's been growing on me, and this is kind of like a little tie-in, but this is Devil's Reign Moon Knight issue number 1. Now, I don't want to bring it up for the art because I'm not a giant fan of the art style.
I fucking hated that goddamn art. That's the guy that can't draw a fucking nose. He just leaves it to
Nick
the colors,
Serratini, right?
And the colorist is like, "Fuck you, I'm not drawing your
It
nose."
He drew Lord Voldemort to every single page.
It's just like these weird diamond noses all the time. So the only reason I'm picking this one is because the story I thought was pretty awesome and pretty consistent, very consistent with the Moon Knight we are reading right now in the run. So, and there's a twist in this book, which I think is pretty cool. So, I mean, the leading into this book, first off, the release order was a little bit screwed up, if I remember correctly. We got the main Moon Knight run, and we had Hunter's Moon coming in, and like this book was a couple issues after that, and then, or a couple of weeks after that, or something like that. And then we had the Devil's Reign run. It screwed up the order, anyways. But it does go into his experience in prison. It goes into this like fighting ring that's going on right now. And he's kind of going after this big bad guy who's not intimidated by him at all. And we have this really interesting like Rorschach kind of a moment from Watchmen and where it's just basically, I'm not locked in here with you. You're locked in here with me kind of a thing going on. And he's targeting this big bad guy who's just like the guy to take down in this fighting ring. And we learn a little bit more about the motivation behind that. It's not necessarily him just trying to climb the ladder to be like the biggest, toughest guy in the prison right now. It was actually a request from somebody when he was doing his mission stuff before all this. And he purposefully gets himself captured by the authorities in the Devil's Reign run. We see him overtaken pretty easily, which is kind of out of character based on what we see in the Moon Knight run. He enters this prison system and actually goes after this guy in a real Moon Knight kind of a way. And I thought that was a pretty cool little twist, how they explained all that, how that story unfolded. The art's awful. I really don't like that art style at all. But the story, it was way better of a story than I thought it was going to be. And I didn't care really what the art showed. I just really liked the book a lot. And so I was really digging Moon Knight, Devil's Reign, just the one shot. And now we're back into the regular Moon Knight run, which has been pretty good too. But
we have the promise of that panel in Devil's Reign, whatever issue number was, where
like 3 or something.
Yeah, where you see Moon Knight's in prison and he's made his own mask.
He's got his mask, yeah.
And you're like, I can't wait to see Jed McKay handle that.
Yeah.
Could you imagine if Greg Smallwood did that? Like that book would slap. That book would hit. That book would be bussin', man. But instead, we got this dude that can't draw a fucking nose. Man, like
he draws Lord Voldemort, man. He takes straight inspiration, Robbie.
Smallwood would be interesting in like a real like fighting, like fast-paced book. Like I've never seen Smallwood in a book. Like it's got to be out there. But like Human Target's the only thing I've seen from him lately. But
he's done Moon Knight before.
Yeah, with Lemire.
That run is really good. And right now available in a complete collection in trade paperback. We sell 3 a fucking week, man. It's wild. Like,
Wow.
people are,
What's
like,
what's that run? What's that run?
Lemire and
Lemire, James
Greg-
Stocco, Greg Smallwood.
No,
There's-
I'm talking cash. What's that run you? To have one of those trades, get one of
Oh,
those
it's probably
trades.
like what,
35?
$30 or something.
Okay,
30,
I'm just
35.
people have been recommending that run for me because
yeah,
I
Lemire's-
really, I know nothing about Moon Knight, and so I watched the first episode. I'm like, I want to just find out more of this world. So people
Yeah.
have been saying that one's
I
good.
would also read
I
the
would-
Warren Ellis.
Yeah,
Warren
that's
Ellis
what. Yeah,
was fire. It was probably
You-
better in my opinion.
you
but
gotta like. Here's the thing: is there's the Warren Ellis run. He did 6 issues. Brian Wood did 6 issues with
Brian Wode's dope.
Greg Smallwood.
That's
Now that I
crazy.
think about that, that
can't
was Greg
imagine that.
Smallwood, right?
Mhm.
And
Wow.
and then Cullen Bunn came in, and it didn't really work.
Cullen
and
Bunn
then-
just didn't work in Marvel.
But the Jeff Lemire run, phenomenal. And
Awesome.
but the problem is the Ellis and the Wood run are not in print right now, so you can't really find them.
Right.
and it's
because
not digital.
there's-
They don't
there's
have it on the
some-
app.
It's
They
on
have it
the
on
app.
the app. It's on Marvel Unlimited.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. If it's on the app, check those out. That
Okay.
Declan Shalvey did the artwork. I have the
It's so
trades
good.
of the Ellis and the Wood run, but they both have some sexual misconduct shit leering over their career right now. So I
Yeah.
don't know if they're going to be put back in print
No, they
anytime
won't.
soon. But those runs lead directly into the fucking Jeff Lemire run. It's essential, I think, to read
Okay.
Ellis and Wood before you go into Lemire.
Okay.
Okay, that's good.
There
to know.
is a Bendis and Malieve
That
12-issue
was fun. That
complete
was good
collection.
too.
That sucks. Don't read that.
I liked it. It was like him interacting with the Marvel universe.
such a simplified fucking version of Moon Knight. I don't like it.
So
I like
Ellis,
Maliev's
Ellis's
art.
run and then Wood's run,
Yeah. Ellis
Yeah.
Wood and then Lemire.
then Lemire. Okay.
Yeah. 100%. Ellis
And then-
did these like
and then I'll
1-issue
circle back to
stories.
Bendis.
He did these 1-issue stories that were fucking awesome. And then Jed McKay's current run.
I read the first couple issues on that so far, and I've been really digging it.
It's so good. Except
Yeah.
for when they bring in that fucking hack ass artist that did the Devil's Reign tie-in. And
Oh, it's awful.
He did
Yeah.
he did that Tigra issue. Remember when I was complaining? I was like, there's no fucking nose here. He did that. He did
That
the
was
Moira
him,
issue
you're
shit
right.
too.
Yo.
Oh my God. Whoever
Well,
did
Like this is what you get. Like
Yeah,
if you're
17.
into that, you know what I mean? Like this is what you can look forward to in the art style.
Hey, at
And if
least-
you're used to the regular Moon Knight run, this is like
This is a step down.
It's,
You
I
know-
feel like
awful.
Robbie. I don't know if I can take your advice though, because you love Radio Apocalypse, and they don't even draw the faces on them half the time in that book in issue
Yeah,
two.
that's a Mike Mignola book. You watch your mouth, man.
See,
Keep Radio
Yeah.
Spaceman out your fucking mouth, okay?
y'all
Greg,
complaining
don't be
about not
berserker,
drawing noses. Like Toriyama hasn't put a nose on Krillin in like 50 years.
Krillin doesn't even know.
Damn it.
He's
You are
he's
right.
our
I
only
get it,
human
but it's
hope.
all about that Dave Stewart coloring as far as that goes. He can handle that, so it's
Yeah,
different.
right?
There's spotted blacks in that shit, so whatever. Station from Chicago, Mike. Hell yeah,
Hi,
man.
Mike.
Mike
I
out
know
there
you.
on tour.
Hey,
He's
Mike.
halfway through his 2-month tour. Station,
Nice.
Mike. He missed the 311 show. It was a great show, but I'm
Oh,
sure
yeah.
you're still having fun on the road with the darkness and the deads. So enjoy that, bro. We'll see you in a month.
Yeah. Let me know if you come through Nashville, bro.
He's going to miss the Huntsville Comic and Pop Culture Expo. I'll tell you that
Aw.
because I just got word I am running the Felisa Rose panel,
That's awesome, bro.
Star of Sleepaway Camp, the Jim Starlin panels,
Mhm.
and the Kevin Eastman panel.
That's so dope,
Nice.
Robbie.
Station,
I'm
man.
so
I'm
happy
excited.
for you. That is awesome, brother.
Oh,
cool.
thank you, man.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I'm so fucking pumped to talk to Kevin Eastman. I'm going to be like, fuck the audience. This is my hour. I got so
I
many
thought you were gonna
questions.
do the same with Starlin.
Starlin, I can, because I've done, usually you like talk to him a little bit, then you go to the audience a little bit, and you talk to him in
You
the midst.
engage
But
them as well.
nah, man, I don't care what the audience wants to ask Kevin Eastman. I got so many fucking questions to talk to that dude. You know what I'm saying? Anyway, I'm just
Please
I'm
tell
just-
me they're all about alien abduction and shit. Like has nothing to do with any.
Well,
Kevin-
I'm curious what his favorite turtle is. I'm pretty sure it's Raphael. I'm
'Cause it's
eager
the
to
best one.
I'm eager to figure out who it is. No.
Raphael's the best.
Well, it's a personality test.
Yeah.
And I'm going to ask him, I was like, did you intentionally design the turtles to be like that? Because they represent like the 4 corners,
Distinct personalities.
right? Like the lover, the warrior,
Mhm.
The thinker,
With the
the
hard
yeah,
head.
it's the lover,
Right.
the warrior, the magician, or the thinker,
yeah.
and the king, right? So like
Right.
the leader, right? So like they do that. It's really interesting. Anyway, what were we talking about?
I don't know, but I think it's
Oh,
Greg's turn.
Greg.
Moon Knight. Anybody else on Moon Knight? Other thoughts? Yeah, check it out. Greg,
Yeah,
what else
it's
you
good.
got?
All right. Well, since it sounds like it's not even your fourth favorite book, I picked up this book because I got chastised last time on this panel for not reading this, and I'm glad I did get chastised because Holy Buckets, issue number 4, Crimson Cage. I hadn't read it, and then y'all were like, it's freaking Macbeth in amateur regional pro wrestling. I'm like, yes, please. And so I picked up the first 3 issues, finished it, and then literally that issue 4 was dropping that week that I did it. So you've got the dynamic right now of your main wrestler and his wife, and she then leaves off to go to a wrestling match. And holy buckets, that scene with her is fantastic. Just the dialogue, the way they interact in this book. John Lee's kills it, and then Alex just crushes it with the artwork. I mean, the panel of, the panels in there where she's fighting in the ring, gets her nose broke, and then just goes off like a switch was flipped. And man, I'm like, I love it. I'm here for this whole book. Everything that they're doing, I'm there. It's great.
It's a great book. I mean, first of all, John Lee's, Alex Cormack, friends of the show. Got to get it out of the way. I don't want anybody thinking that I'm just saying this to like boost them up or whatever, because I'll let you know what I really think. This book is fucking awesome. It's John's and Alex's second best book together, because Sync is on another level, right? But this is awesome. If you love wrestling, you're going to love this book. If you love Shakespeare in different modern day circumstances, you're going to love this book. If you just love horror or dark fantasy, you're going to love this book. You don't have to love wrestling or Shakespeare to enjoy this book. The artwork is so bloody and visceral. The coloring is spot on. That's Alex's wife, Ashley, I think.
Yep.
And holy cow, this book is freaking phenomenal. Now, John Lees has a passion for wrestling, which is crazy to me for a man from Glasgow to be so obsessed with American wrestling, but he is, and he like knows as much about that as like Big Herm or Maniacal Mike, the voice Matthews, right?
Yeah. Well, and I almost didn't. I mean, why I didn't pick this book up originally, I'm not the biggest horror person, as we've talked about. So, John Lees was doing, Hotel and everything. Mm-hmm. And I kind of just flipped through the book and I was like, oh, it's a horror wrestling book. There's horror elements, don't get me, but it doesn't make the book. Like, it's kind of a side story, the horror element more. It takes a back seat a little bit to the storytelling that you get and the world that they create in just 4 issues. And like, I don't want it to end.
Right.
Like,
and seeing this descent into madness,
yes,
man, and the paranoia sneak up, and it's so excellently done. And Alex Cormack, I always talk about this. I talked about this in Road of Bones and Sea of Sorrows. The way he can draw insanity and madness in someone's eye, like with so little, like it works so freaking well, man. Anybody else reading this? Thinking any thoughts?
I'm stacking them right now because you guys.
Yeah, nice. And you should. Well, and I mean, it's AWA. AWA is killing it. I love
there's some good stuff.
Almost all they're putting out. So
yeah, they're a solid publisher, and it's Axel Alonso, who was like a main editor at Vertigo for a while.
Marvel, then he was over at Marvel. Then
editor-in-chief over at Marvel. So yeah, I mean, Joe Q was like, yeah, we're gonna get DC's best editor. We're gonna get Axel, and he came in. He's the one who brought in Mike Allred and Pete Milligan to do X-Force.
Well,
you know what I'm saying? So
Axel is doing what he's bringing in the talent, and he's saying, tell the stories you want to tell, and he's letting them. Like, it's like I'm gonna bring in dope creators, and y'all just tell the stories you want to tell. Like, because there's not a rhyme or reason. There's a lot of publishers where I feel like their books, like, oh, it's a funny book, it's a hoy, oh, it's a whatever type. You can kind of line up the publishers with it. Where I feel like AWA is kind of, you just tell the story you want to tell.
Yeah, as long as a third of them are drawn by Mike Diodato Jr.
Right. Yeah. And you want to talk? Who was it, Brandon? I think you were showing the panel one time of like, oh, that's William Dafoe drawn in there.
That was Manny.
was me.
That was Manny.
Man,
It's all
it was
right.
you. One of you guys were showing, and I'm like, man, Mike. I almost made
That's
him
all
like
he
me and
does.
Matt.
That's all he does.
I
yeah.
remember in the Dark Reign era, he drew Norman Osborn as Tommy Lee Jones, and I was like, "That's so perfect." I would love to see Tommy Lee Jones with cornrows or whatever the cornrows. Like how
Whatever
do
you
you
had
get
from the
that done?
animated series.
Yeah. Oh my god, it was so great, so great. Anybody else reading Crimson Cage? Any thoughts?
I'm waiting for the trade, even though John Lees is a friend of the show. I'm still gonna wait for that trade because I think it'll read better.
It's fucking great. It's great.
It's great,
a-
everybody.
it's Shakespeare and it's wrestling. It's great. All right.
Yep.
I love having Scottish people on the show. I can't wait to
Oh
have
my
them
gosh.
on the show. Anyway, Ghost Cage is my next pick.
Yep.
Love this book.
Yeah.
Love this book. Nick Dragotta, artist of East of West. Okay.
Fantastic
Jonathan
Four,
Hickman,
or FF.
one of the he did FF. He did one of the absolute best runs of a comic book in the last 10 years for me. That's East of West. I love it, right? But I'm used to seeing the Frank Martin coloring, which we get here on this beautiful cover.
Yeah.
A lot of these elements look very East of West, right? In fact, this main like power dude, the guy that runs this power company, that's the leader of the Confederacy in East of West, right? So there's that. The line work is exactly what I expected. The scope and feel of this book is not what I was expecting. I was not expecting a Katsuhiro Otomo reference throughout this entire book. This feels like Akira, bruh. And me and
Yes.
Manny just went through this
Yeah.
fucking book. And the way he's using screen tone, that's that gray scale. That's something you don't see in comics anymore. You see it. Nightwing by Bruno Redondo, great artwork, but maybe an overuse of digitized screen tone.
Yeah.
This is how it's done. It's using it to provide depth of field. It's using it to provide detail. It's using it to give us a richness and a scale, a scope that this book has. And as a writer, he's got Caleb Gilner or something here. It's a cool concept. It's basically in a world where most of the power of the planet is provided by this one dude in this giant tower of power, right? And these corporate terrorists or spies go in there and start causing explosions and power outages. And for some reason, who knows why? Who gives a shit? But because it's just so awesome. But for some reason, in every level of this power plant, there is an avatar of each type of power, from what, like
Coal
it
to
goes
hydro.
hydro, gas.
Yeah.
What is that one? Wind, nuclear, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the explosions have loosed these avatars, these, right? And
Yep.
so he sent his greatest creation, some kind of sentient AI intelligence or something, right, out to find this terrorist and kill them. And he sent this just random person from the
technical
office,
service.
yeah, from technical service to go make sure that it's okay. And
Yeah.
visually stunning. Like, I just spent a lot of time really looking into Otomo's work.
Yeah.
And then to read this, right, Manny? Did you read this, Manny?
Yes, I did.
All right. I'm
On
eager
my
to
tiny
hear what,
iPod.
like, there's the hydro and it's this giant fucking wave of water that comes and shit. And it's so ghostly and oh my God. I'm amazed with this book artistically, but I also like the concept. But having just been steeped in Otomo and then getting that I got the hardcover, Manny, the box set that Brian had.
Yeah.
And oh my God, his artwork's so amazing. To see this, the icing on the cake. What did you think, Manny?
I really liked it. There was a part of me that had this nagging feeling in the back of my head, like I'm not smart enough to know what type of energy Sam is. But I'm glad that nobody has said it yet, so I'm assuming none of us know. So that's really cool.
Yeah.
Because
he's I think he's the next level. He's the top, right? Like that's the idea, right? Maybe he's free energy, right? He's like
he's kind of
some
like
Star
Kirby
Trek
too,
shit.
right? He eats everything. You know what I mean? Like he just
Yeah.
absorbs. Like, is he like just the embodiment of consumption? Like, is this the natural end state of energy? It's just going to consume itself until the next thing is there. Like, I really, really like this book. It had it was kind of like because I was 2 weeks behind picking up my books. Like I read this, Homesick Pilots, Godzilla Power, like everything all at the same time. It was like kaiju week for me, bro. This was so good. There's something that I'm beginning to appreciate more and more, especially watching your Robbie reads with the Ginger Ito, whatever.
Junji Ito, yeah.
Yeah, black and white, and I started looking through like Batman noir books and stuff. Like I really something about really appreciating the line work and how much it draws you into the image. I think sometimes with the coloring, it maybe it is just the digital age we live in where it's so flat. And in this case, it draws you in. There's a scene where Soil or Doyle or Coyle, whatever the name is, standing in front of like water. In every line in the wave is in there, and you find yourself fixated, staring at water in the background of an image.
Yeah.
Yep.
And it's so good. And black becomes so much more meaningful in this book, in drawing your eye and really framing the entire panel. I not enough good things can be said about the art. The book the narrative teeters on that. I really want to be smart type of, like it teeters on that I have to think a lot, and am I appreciating that because it's making me think so that I feel elevated, like I'm smart because I can figure out that hydro is water power, or
I thought it was weed,
really,
man.
yeah, or is it really saying something?
I didn't make that connection at all. I don't know.
So it tickles my ego that way because I'm like, dude, I understood this reference. So that being said, the story itself, I don't know if it's as strong as it appears to be because it feels like it's deep or trying to say something deep. And but the artwork is fucking amazing.
Yes.
Amazing.
Right. I dig the Akira vibes. I just started reading Akira too, so it was like
Station.
yeah, I had it for a while, but I just never read it, but until now, and it's really good. I really like it. It's just I'm trying to branch out.
I love it when someone's like, I finally read Akira. It's really good. That's how I feel when I first read Akira, or when I first read Sandman, or when I first like you're like, oh, they were right. This is really good.
Oh,
Like, I feel like a lot of people when like you ask, okay, what is my first comic book, or what should be like my first manga, or what if I'm trying to branch out, what can I read? And people are like Akira, and I'm like, well, everyone's saying Akira, now I don't want to read it, It's like you push Saga in everyone's face, and everyone's like, you're overhyping it,
Saga's got a lot of Akira vibes to me. We talked about that too.
Read Saga.
Yeah.
It's good.
Right. But I really liked Ghost Cage, I really like Nick Dragata's art. I have East of West. I have the hardcover sitting right here. It's been staring at me for the better part of 8 months, but I just haven't dove in, the way of the backlog and everything. But I really dug this issue a lot. I'm really excited for this, and I think like it speaks volumes to an artist who can like also write, because they're still storytelling with their artwork, right? But when you add in like they're also doing like the actual writing, I feel like they can play around more. They feel like they have more freedom to play around with exactly how they want each page to look. So that's always intriguing to me whenever I see that. Now, I'm the same way with Daniel Warren Johnson, Scotty Young, Sean Gordon Murphy, anyone who's been, even Todd McFarlane.
Hell yeah, man. Any other thoughts on Ghost Cage here, guys?
It was dope. Go pick it up.
No, I can't wait to see how it escalates, just because it's just getting so crazy, and we're going to each level, right? You know what I mean? Yeah. So I can't wait to see what happens there.
Have you ever read Akira, Nick?
I have not. No.
This is very Atomo, like 100%. And I haven't heard Nick like give any kind of interviews or anything about this book, but it's got to be. I mean, it's obvious. It's like this is what he's doing because the screen tone is right there, bro. Yeah. Like the way, because in Akira they would do the screen tone, they would like scratch in it to provide these. Because you remember on Comics Revisited, Manny, I was like, are they scratching into it? What are they doing? They're scratching into it, and they're putting like whiteout shit on it. Like they're doing white media.
Like
on
they're
top
adding
of it.
texture, and
they're adding shading over the fucking It's brilliant. It's and they don't make comics like that anymore. And the idea used to be it has to work in black and white first before we apply color. Now they rely too much on the coloring.
Right?
Do you get what I'm saying? Like that's what you do. An essential today of the last 10 years of Marvel Comics, right? And they won't look as good as what the Jack Kirby, John Buscema, Barry Windsor Smith, all that stuff, Gene Colan, what they look like in black and white, because it's not, and it's a different world, it's a different era. I get it, but I guarantee you every page of Hulk Grand Design in Red Room looks good in black and white. I know every page in Red Room looks good in black and white, but all right.
Yep.
Did you miss this one? Ghost
I
Cage?
did. So because that just came out this week, right?
Last week.
Last week.
Last week.
Okay. Yeah. I'm trying to cut down on my pull list a little bit. So I'm trying to be and it's tough. It's buckets. It's tough. So I passed on this one, but you guys are making me want to go back and get it now.
Yeah. At least go to your shop and just like grab it and then like sneak in a dark corner if you don't know the dude. I'm sure you know your comic shop guy and just fucking read it.
Yeah.
just flip through it. I mean, it's awesome artwork. If you want to trade weight or if they do a hardcover, I'll pick it up because it's 3-issue series, $5.99 each issue, but they're chunky.
Yeah.
You know, and I'd rather, to be honest, let's all cut down our lists. Let's all invest a little bit more in high quality content, right? Like that's what we need to do.
There you go.
Right.
Yeah.
Well said.
All right. Rapid fire. This is
a
great moment here. Manny, you're first.
All right.
What are the rest of the rest?
The rest
we
of
talked
the
about
rest.
the best of the best. Now it's time for the rest of the rest.
All right.
Because the best of the best starred Eric Roberts, but the little known actor Robert Eriks was the star of the rest of the rest series. Fuck, I gotta make a comic of that.
Is rest of the rest like the bad one or like the ones that just fell off the list?
No, these are the next ones.
Okay.
Like we only all talked about 3 books. Anyway.
Rapid fire.
Have you ever watched this show, Brandon? You wanted to be on it so bad. Have you ever paid attention to this show?
Yeah, I paid attention, because I saw Bueller and Bob show up 2 hours later. I'm kidding.
Oh, shots.
Throwing shade at people ain't even here, man. That's fucked up, Brando.
I was gonna say I didn't read it for half the books this week, but I did, or this month, but I didn't. Just an honor. Anyway, King Spawn. I'm finally starting to understand what the hell's going on in this story. It only took 8 issues. This was really good. Maniac of New York. The ending with Harry was super cathartic. I really enjoyed that. Rain is phenomenal. The artwork in Godzilla versus Power Rangers is fucking fire, dude.
Freddy,
and
right?
Rita with dead monks scattered around her body. I need that in statue form. That was dope. Little Monsters, forget about it. This was amazing.
It's another good black and white screen tone book.
Yeah, it is.
Oh god, it's so good, isn't it? And the use of red, so cool. Anyway, Something is Killing the Children. Another great transitional episode or issue. There's a panel here where the character's yelling "fuck you" super loud, and I thought that was so creative, so well done. Homesick Pilots, always killing it. This new Ghost is freaking terrifying. Speaking of terrifying, Silver Coin and then Hotel, both well worth the read. So
Hotel, right in the hearts, right in the heartstrings.
Oh man,
you thought Stray Dogs did it? No,
I had a friend who was like, I knew that they were trying to emotionally manipulate me with the story of a dying dog, so I just stopped reading it. I can't deal with that.
Yeah, that one got me. Yeah,
nice rapid fire, man. This is some banger books. What about you, Brando? What you got?
World's Finest was really, really dope. I'm surprised, Greg, you didn't talk about this. I left this off because I thought you were going to talk about it.
You can't do that. You can't leave it off just because so you can get more time to talk about your books. I didn't play those games. I know you.
I dug this. I really dug this book. It's classic DC, Batman, Superman. It was great. There's a lot of cool banter going on in this book. I think the dialogue was so thoughtful. Mark Waid is honestly like on his A game here. So when he's on his A game, I think he is one of the better minds of modern comics. So definitely, and then Stan Moore on art. So you can't get better than that.
Art was great.
Tamara Bonvillain, doing the colors, and she's phenomenal. Again, once in future, Wonder Woman, her colors were great.
Yeah, she's snubbed every year by the fucking I almost said Oscars. Who gives a shit about them? Eisners. Nobody's ever slapped somebody in the Eisners. I think Chip Zdarsky's being called out for next year.
I'm gonna try and instigate something at the Ringos this year. So
right. I really liked Silver Surfer Rebirth number 3. I dug this. I read this one today. It was solid if you like that era. Actually, Bearded interviewed Ron Mars, so check that out.
I did.
Shout out Greg right there. I've been digging this. The Infinity Gauntlet series was really what got me into comics outside of like Daredevil. Was my first like big binge. And I this is like right at home with me. I really enjoyed The Punisher, _1 by Jason Aaron, Jesus Saiz. Another one that we all left off. It's great for people who want to get into this character.
Really good book, man.
It was. Didn't read Punisher books. I picked it up. I'm trying to branch out into some Marvel, expand my horizons. I really dug it because it's Jason Aaron.
Right. I really did dig this. It's a great new beginning for the character. We're seeing him branch out a little bit. Kind of like how Greg's branching out reading Marvel.
Why
Frank
don't you
Castle's
branch out and read
branching
some
out a little
fucking
bit.
indies, Brandon?
Hey, you know what? I picked up a lot of
Read
indies.
some
this
Red
month.
Room. That'd be a real branch out for you.
Yeah,
Bro.
You know what? It might be, and I will definitely. I'm always open to giving something a shot. I'm always open to that. Strange Academy. I've been absolutely digging this book. This is issue 17.
It's a great book.
It's a great kind of family book, but it's also like you're diving into these characters and you're getting attached to them as people, right? My favorite happens to be the son of Dormammu, and is like completely polar opposite by
Doyle?
Doyle, from what you would expect a child of Dormammu to act like, but now he's like he can't escape that stereotype,
My favorite book of the month was a Marvel book, Wu-Tang, by the way, just so you know.
Wu-Tang,
listen, everyone's gonna love Brandon because he's the one Marvel guy on the show.
Well, most of my Creators Corner interviews come from the X Office. So, I'm really digging Marvel right now. I think that they are on the press, and I am going to throw one more Marvel book in there, and that is Venom, the Lethal Protector by David Michelinie. If you guys like the classic Venom from that era, this is right at home for you. It's an extension of that story. You even got Man-Bug in there, right? So it's like, come on now, that's dope. And it's written in a way that's like it's not timely to where you can't read it now. I mean, none of the 90s, some of the 90s were, but none of Michelinie's work in my mind. This was not written so modern to where it doesn't pay homage to that. The art, who did the art in here? Fiorelli was great, right? It had those classic vibes. And if you're not digging Donny Cates' Venom or what Al Ewing and Ron V are doing, this is at home for you. And even like you can tell that this is like a cooler Venom, because like this was the original, right? Almost like before he got like the whole Eric Larson treatment after McFarlane, where he had like all of the fangs and like the slobber coming out of his mouth. This is like classic, and I really dug it.
Nice.
It's rapid fire.
It's a good rapid fire, man. That's a good one. What about you, Nick? What you got?
Wouldn't be a great moment without some Saga love, so go ahead and throw that out there. I thought this was a really good issue. Again, they left us on a crazy violent cliffhanger the issue before this, and they touch right back into that and resolve that in a pretty creative way. They're just doing some magic on this issue, on this run, every single issue. So got a shout out for Saga there for sure. King of Spies wrapped up recently. That was another great run. I thought the last 20% of this book was a little bit rushed. I really could have used another issue, but a run on a whole, I think it was great, action-packed, fast-paced. Art was crazy in this one. It was just a fun, not so original story, but they put their own creative spin on it. I think it was one of the best Image books that I've read lately. We Have Demons recently came to print. Great issue. I did not read this on Comixology when it was free forever, but we got it over here, and I thought it was a pretty interesting world building. Scott Snyder doing what he does best there, introducing some creative characters, putting a lot of action in it real quick. Interesting world, and I'm looking forward to see where we go from there. I did read Batman 1 Dark Knight from Jock and Jock on the art and writing, and I loved the simplicity of the story. It's in Gotham. It's with Batman. I know we have a lot of Batman going on right now. This is a different take, a different angle. Batman's trying to escort EMP to Arkham Asylum right now, and all these gangs are trying to like hone in on their location right now. So it's kind of like how do I get this guy to the exit in time without getting overrun? So I do really appreciate that. And then the last book I'll bring up is Reckoning War, Trial of the Watcher. I thought it was a cool take on the What If kind of a series. This is very much a What If book.
It's the best What If ever.
It's the best What If ever for
What
sure.
if the Watcher?
What if the Watcher
just watched?
What if the Watcher just watched? That's exactly what this book is. So I thought that was a pretty interesting, ironic kind of take on those characters as well. I like getting into this world. I don't know much about the Watcher or anything like that, but it's kind of fun to dive into that. So I liked what they did in that book. That's the rapid fire.
That's nice. That's really good. All right, Greg, rapid fire. What you got?
First and foremost, Manny, I gotta say, I said backstage, like your shirt, well done. I also got to give props to Manny. He let me borrow his iPad, so I'm gonna read my.
There it is.
See what we got here. But no, a lot of my stuff that was already mentioned. Brandon's not here, so I can tell him I liked World's Finest Air, but I had to.
That's the best cover though,
because I had the Jerry Seinfeld cover. Like, let's go.
for sure.
Did anybody watch Damien's video, Sleepy Reader? When he did his video, he's like, I didn't realize it, but apparently I didn't get the cover A. I got this Jerry Seinfeld cover. That's weird. And he like wasn't pleased with it at all.
It's the obvious choice, I thought.
So good. Now we're gonna get into what I call the King section of my rapid fire. So King of Spies, I thought it wrapped up really well. Really good series. Just wish Millar didn't do some of his token Millar things of having absurd characters that don't need to be in there. But
yeah,
I like how it wrapped
up. Are you
up.
talking about those siblings or whatever?
But
yeah,
that was
the
dope
duo.
as shit.
I
was
hated
so
that.
cool.
I hated
was
that.
so cool.
That
man.
was so awesome.
It took it out for me. Like
That's like
but,
best Bond
right.
henchman ever.
yeah.
Like
so,
you gotta be.
yeah.
Nah. So that was part one of the King section. Now we'll get into Batman Killing Time, Tom King book, issue 1 of that. I dug it. We're getting a kind of heist crime book, and I'm there for it because you've got everyone in the Batman except for Killer Croc in this. So I love a good heist book. So props to Tom King for that. And while we're talking about Tom King, we also mentioned Greg Smallwood. I'd be remiss if I didn't talk about freaking Human Target. Let's go. Issue number 6 is fantastic. I love what they did. I love that Tom King takes some chances, and I think he's clarifying, letting everyone know of like, hey, remember, this is out of continuity, so don't freak out here, gang, and be upset like Wally West stuff. And but this was I dig it. I could read anything that Greg Smallwood draws. Like I could just stare at the pages, and Tom doesn't even have to write, but it helps in this because his art, his coloring, the shadow work, the film noir vibe, I dig it. Holy cow, Human Target is becoming one of my favorite reads of the year.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
A lot of people pissed off about the Guy Gardner stuff in that one. And I saw all these videos, YouTubers I follow, and they did these videos about it. And I'm like, y'all realize this is Black Label, right? Like
that's what I'm saying. Like people get so bent out of shape. It's like, let him tell what he wants to tell to make the story. Because guess what? They're going to be able to do what they wanted to do with Guy in continuity.
It's not like they're using Guy for much.
Yeah, that being said, I guess
Guy Gardner's like the worst Green Lantern.
I guess I learned recently that I care more about Adam Strange than Guy Gardner because that bothered me in Strange Adventures, but I didn't give a fuck about Guy Gardner. I was like, that's fucking awesome. They killed Guy Gardner, and this motherfucker's melting. They fuck. Like that's bold, man.
Yeah, it was a fun issue.
You guys killed a lot of my stuff tonight, man. I had this I got like 11 picks. I'm good to go, but Radio Spaceman's one I really want to spotlight. I didn't grab my physical issue, but I do have it. Great new Mike Mignola creation. Really cool stuff. I like it. I liked the artwork. I wish the artwork was Mignola, but that's just the way that works. So that was cool. King of Spies. I got to agree with Greg and Nick here. Like King of Spies, I loved. And I would say that I would have wanted another issue, but the first issue and the last issue were extra sized. So I feel like I'm happy that he didn't try to stretch the story out further than it needed to go. Mm-hmm. And they need a movie, and it's Mark Millar, so they're going to do a movie or a series.
Netflix.
Timothy fucking Dalton, y'all. This could be the third Timothy Dalton James Bond film that we deserve. Could be King of Spies. I'm serious. He could do it. He could really do it.
I've heard a lot of people say wait a couple years and have it be Pierce Brosnan.
Now fuck that, man. Timothy Dalton.
I'm just telling you what the people say.
I don't care about the fucking people. I'm going to tell you this. I just watched I just watched all 25 Bond films. By the way, newest episode of the podcast, first episode in 2 years, is available now for free over at popculturephilosophers.com or on iTunes, whatever. But the Bond cast, I watched 25 Bond movies. Timothy Dalton needs one more movie, and King of Spies is it, y'all. It's a Bond movie, right? And I love it. I think it's fantastic. Girl Scouts.
I think Velvet should get adapted for like a little Bond-ish, but like
that could be cool. All right, Girl Scouts by Jim Mahfood. This is the only dude that I know who actually uses actual screen tone in American comics, and you can see it. Every page is a graphic delight. Jim Mahfood he's a great cartoonist. He's using different styles, different media. He uses a lot of splatter effect. Look at that. Look at that double page, right? Like, it's so gnarly. It's so cool. It's so sci-fi and wild and punk rock and hip hop at the same time. It's great. Like Manny alluded to, speaking of punk rock, Homesick Pilots. This may be Casper's best issue on this series yet. The artwork is fucking amazing. That's not a toilet seat ghost, by the way. That's a horseshoe ghost.
That was a ring light ghost.
Look at that artwork, though. Like, it's great. Casper does the coloring himself. Top-notch stuff. This story only has 2 more issues, and it is heating up. Sean Murphy, Beyond the White Knight, #1. Lots of shops. Shorted issue cover A of issue #1. Here's one of my favorite stories that broke this week. So DC told me as a retailer, cover A's, there was a print delay. You'll get them. Don't worry about it. But all we can ship is cover B. So right now, this book is selling online for like $20 because for cover A, because most shops, a lot of shops didn't get cover A, but they were like, well, it's coming. Well, Greg got one. That's nice. That's nice. By the way, Sean Murphy broke the fucking DC kayfabe today and came out and said, no, they didn't print enough, y'all, but we're doing a second printing. It's coming soon. Sorry about that. And I'm like, oh shit. I guess we're not going to get another White Knight book probably after this. So relish it while you can, because I like Batman Beyond, but not as much as other people. This got me going. 10 years after Curse of the White Knight, Bruce is in prison. Gotham has changed, gone futuristic. And this kid named Terry breaks into the Batcave and steals a suit. And look at that goddamn artwork.
It's fantastic.
Beyond.
Yeah.
Sean Murphy makes me care about Harley Quinn and Red Hood. Kind of pisses me off. This one is a trade paperback that came out this month. Just came out this week. By the Horns, Volume 1. Now, Marcusson, Nasso, Jason Muir, they're fantastic dudes. They're cool. This book is amazing. It's great fantasy. I'm not the biggest fantasy fan. I love this. I want action figures of everything, but I got to point out that your boy got a pull quote. If it will actually focus. Come on, y'all. Come on. Let's.
It was on the Robbie Graham.
By the Horns is one of the best books on the shelves. Robbie Billups from Pop Culture Philosophers.
There it is.
Hell yeah.
So pick this up. That way, if you ever meet me, I'll sign it for you. $5. Just kidding.
I thought the first one's free. If you get 2 copies, it's $5.
I thought you were gonna go a Neil Adams thing, where it's like 20 for the autograph, 50 to take a picture with
I
him,
appreciate that you think I'm in the level of Neil Adams, but I'm not. But anyway, By the Horns, if you missed it, because I know a lot of shops don't stock a lot of Scout books or have a lot of them there, but you can get this, ask for it. If not, holler at me. We'll get you a copy. I got plenty at my shop because my fucking name was on it. But yeah, dude, By the Horns is a great book. You need to check it out. And for next month, I hope we get to talk about issue 1 of the 2nd volume, because that book is amazing. And is there anything else on the list that we haven't covered? No. So there you go. That's the best books of the month, according to us. So all the links to these gentlemen's fine channels are in the description below. But real quick, what's coming up in your channel? What you got going on? Where can they find you? What do you want to plug? Cerebros.
Go check out the Cerebros channel. Verno does a tremendous job. He's got a great podcast, the Cerebros podcast. You'll watch it on YouTube because you're probably like me and you don't actually listen.
Right. He
to
hasn't
podcasts.
released anything in 3 weeks, man. What are you doing?
I know. Fine then. Go check out Chop and Drop 2013. Dude's a great support of the community. Just opened up an AOK from Rob's fat stack of comics. Go check out Chop and Drop 2013. And let's all Robbie's got Dylan's address. Hit him up on IG. I want us all to AOK Dylan's Horror Show, 1 episode of Red Room. We can all afford one issue.
He's got a birthday coming up,
and then let's all send it over to him.
Just
all
one.
right?
I'll send him
That's
the
funny.
trade. Y'all can worry about that. Fuck all the issues, man. He's not
All right.
worth it. I'm just kidding.
All right.
He's worth it. He's
super chats tonight are going for Dylan's trade for.
Don't say that. They're going. They're
It's
going to
not your
Taco Bell,
super
man.
chat,
What are you
man.
wrong with you, man? Taco Bell super chats, man.
If you're taking Robbie's super chats, I'm taking your subs. Give me just like $7.
Dude, that's fine. I think everyone in the batch has eclipsed me by now, haven't they?
I'll give you the 700 subs that don't watch any of the videos.
Yeah,
No,
right.
I'll do that. I'll do that.
Oh, you
Out of all 500 subs, only 30 of them are watching anything because that's my view count on every video I release. So that's my sub to watch ratio. But
Well,
yeah.
we don't want to get depressing here at the end here.
Yeah, this
I
got
know,
real.
I
Like,
know. I wasn't gonna bring it
Y'all
up.
took
Check it
y'all
out.
took it to
Everybody,
the
go
red
sub
room.
Immortal Cinema and watch his
Manny,
fucking
come here. Come
videos,
give me a
man.
hug. Give me a hug, Manny.
Brandon
dude
wants
is
your
the best-
subs.
is the
Manny
best
just
hype
wants people to
man.
watch his stuff.
He is.
Like,
This dude's a hype man. He's a great editor. Holy shit, bro. Come on, man.
Everyone needs to watch Manny's reviews. They're
You're
short,
putting too
quick,
much work
and
into IG stories for other fucking people, and that's what's going on.
yeah,
Oh,
right?
dude, I love doing it. But no, seriously, guys, go sub up Chop and Drop 2013 for sure.
Nice.
Yep,
Brandon, what's coming up? What you got?
I can announce the Creators Corner lineup. We got Mark Wade coming. We have Muhammad Aswar coming later in the month as well. We have Roy Thomas and Declan Shavli is going to be on the show. So that's April.
Station.
And then we have Ultimate Fantastic Four, the first volumes, 1 through 6. We are dropping tomorrow at 1 p.m. Eastern time for our archive show. And then Monday, we have Weekly Wrap Up, which is our live comic book review, live chat, hangout, whatever you want to call it. And then Stefan and I missing link. We just released our most underrated X-Men with Sal Felix, who was in the chat earlier, which that was a great show. So we're going to be dropping videos. I'm going to try to drop 6 days a week now. Because I just did DC round robin. So DC announced the round robin. I broke it down, talked about the pitches, talked about what I'm voting for. That's available too. But yeah, check me out. ComixKings for a lot of creator interviews, comic book reviews. It's always a great time, and I'm really grateful for all the support. Even being here is I've been having a blast. So thank you so much, Robbie.
Oh, of course, man. Thank you for being here, man. We love having you, Brandon. You're a true soldier in the comic book industry, and a friend of the show, and a brother to my own heart.
Much love, Robbie.
There you go.
Yeah. Nick, what you got?
Friday nights is my premiere show, Nick at Night, which is basically 45 minutes of this. I go over all the books I read, tell you what I thought about them, and I actually have a grading scale that I also do on the screen and I post on IG. Just like my own grading system. If you only had to pick up a few different books that week, you can kind of know where I'm leaning towards, so you can make some smart purchasing decisions. On some Sundays, I put out some how to get in the comic books today kind of videos. So if you're new to the hobby, you kind of want to understand what a comic shop breakdown is, what the pull list is, how to do window boxes, what books are, what signing events are happening at CGC, things like that, things to kind of get into the hobby. I have a whole playlist for those things. I'm going to be expanding that as new things come to mind. I also have my local LCS. I work very, very closely with them. I go over what's coming out and some final order cutoff stuff on Tuesdays. I film on Tuesday nights. I release that on New Comic Book Day, along with what I pulled, which is kind of a preview for Nick at Night. So that's what I'm going to be doing. And I try to go live at least once a month, typically for a comic book look ahead, where I kind of sit down, chat, drink some coffee, go over the books that are coming out in the next month. And we kind of talk about what covers we like, what things we're interested in. So it's just kind of my live hangout video that I try to do once a month, typically the third Sunday of each month. So that's what I got coming up. Thanks for having me, man. It's always a pleasure to be here, dude. Thanks so much.
Always a pleasure to have you here. What about you, Greg? What's coming up on your channel? Where can they find you?
Man, yeah, find me on Bearded Comic Bro. I do a lot of interviews. Every Monday I drop interviews. So like Brandon said earlier in the show, I had Ron Mars on a couple of weeks ago.
Awesome.
Just had an interview drop with Tom Pyre, who was a former editor at DC and Vertigo and did Legion of Superheroes.
Has he still got that crazy ass hair?
Yeah, dude, his hair is buck wild. It's buck wild. Like
his Hourman book is phenomenal from back
so
in the day.
I wanted to talk more about Hourman and stuff, but I kind of wanted to go into Ahoy a little bit because I feel like everyone always has him on talk about DC. So I was like, I'll bring him back on to talk about that another time. So yeah, actually, I'm gonna have talked with Livio about the Kill Lock again. So I brought him back on. Gonna have some of the creators from Nottingham, just a whole bunch of Kickstarter people. So those are all dropping on Mondays. Wednesday nights, it's whatever I feel like putting out there. I make a lot of comic book content for me, not a lot for other people. So it's a lot of Batman stuff, and it's just shenanigans. I bring my wife on a lot. She reads comic books, once a month, and she doesn't read comic books. And we'll do a game show every Friday night, quizzing each other on stuff. So it's not gonna help you grow in your knowledge of comic books and important information, but we have fun.
That's all that matters.
Stop selling yourself short. Jesus Christ. Come on, man.
Just keep doing
Well,
it.
no, I'm not
Creator
saying that in a
interviews are
bad way. I'm
fun.
just saying,
Yeah.
like, I'm just telling you straight up, like,
Yeah.
just letting you know what you're gonna get. You're gonna get a comic book themed cooking show with me and my wife. Like,
It's a
sometime.
great show.
Yeah, it's funny though.
Or the
Greg does
bearded,
great
whatever
content.
happened to the bearded bartender? That was
So
dope.
the bearded
Now
bartender,
I
I've
can
done some bearded
actually
bartenders.
now I can actually drink it. You know.
I'll make a new one just for you, so you can make a cocktail from Gotham City. So I've got to do some of those.
I
Those
love
just
you,
take a lot
Greg.
more work, because I have to buy ingredients and I can't just do it here.
Man, I tell you what, man, if someone was like, you want to do this cooking show or you want to do a cocktail show? I'd be like, cocktail show.
Well, that's why I do both.
Yeah, do the cocktail show.
Nice.
Hell yeah, man. Everybody check out all these great channels in the description below and make sure you sub up to them because they are PCP approved, y'all. What's coming up here? Tomorrow morning, the top 5 comics of the week drops. Spoilers, number 1 is Hulk Grand Design. But you already knew that.
Yep.
Let's see. Tomorrow afternoon, I'll be dropping my video with Rex from Dynamite. I don't know what the topic of the week will be, but I'm sure I'll figure out something. So that will be fun. Tomorrow night, we're filming the next episode or recording the next episode of the podcast. That live stream is going to be available to our Patreon subscribers at patreon.com/PCP. Starting at 9:00, we'll be talking about comic book villains. It's going to be me, Hammer Time Holshoe, Dashing Drew Matson, and Joe Corallo. It's going to be a great show. Saturday night, we're finally ending March Madness in April with Dylan's Horror Show, talking about Midsummer. I've never watched that movie. Still haven't watched it. I'm going to watch it tomorrow. Very excited for that. Sunday night, Rockin Robbie Live. Monday night, I'm over at the EXP to sell some comics and have some great conversation. So that's what's coming up here on PCP. And next Thursday, we got creator interview again. That's right. We're back doing creator interviews. So we got Doug Wagner and Tim Odlin showing up tomorrow, next week.
Doug Wagner, Trinity, right?
Vinyl and plastic. Yeah, not Matt Wagner. That'd be cool too. But Beware the Eye of Odin is their new book. It's really cool. Excited to have Doug on the channel, but Tim Odlin, who was the artist of that book, this is his first book as the artist. And he apparently they reached out to me. He's been watching PCP for years and has been a fan of us for a long time. And now he's got a book coming out. And when he heard me mention his name on the weekly wrap up, he lost his fucking shit. And Doug reached out to me. He was like, bro, you got to know this dude's losing his fucking mind that you were talking about his book. So I was like, well, how much would he lose his mind if y'all came on the show to talk about your upcoming book? Right. We also got some other creators lined up. I'm not ready to announce anything yet, but we'll just say Mavid Endure is possibly coming up on the show. Menace Bamp is possibly coming up at the show at some point in the future. There's a gentleman named Mick Tatara that may be popping up on the channel soon, and a man named Moshua Gilliamson who may be popping up on the channel soon. And all these people have reached out to us. So I'm super proud of the growth that we've had here because of you, the PCP Army. So thank you so much. I'm Rockin Robbie Billups. Check out everybody's channels and their shows. And thank you all for being here. We really do appreciate it. And join us at the Huntsville Comic and Pop Culture Expo, April 22nd through 24th here in Huntsville, Alabama. We got lots of great guests, but PCP will be there as well. We'll have a panel, but I'll also be hosting panels with Sleepaway Camp's very own Felisa Rose, Thanos' very own Jim Starlin, and the Michelangelo's very own Kevin Eastman. Anyway, we're dipping out. We love y'all, and